That's awesome.
Yo.
Oh no, Thomas, are you
Thomas is
muted?
muted.
Thomas.
It's fitting that I'm going to have technical issues for our last
boy.
episode of the year. But again, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Welcome one and all to the Dukes of Gaming podcast. You already know it's your boy, the host, the Duke of Procrastination, Thomas. And it's good to have everybody here. It's good to have a full set. Good to have a full house here. How is everybody doing? First and foremost, we have the Duke of Nostalgia. How are you doing, Taylor?
Doing great. Had a great Christmas trip. Just got back from New York City. Great time. Stayed safe. Took the
That's also
protocols, you know.
There we go. Of course, we have the Duke of Rocket League. How are you doing, Cole?
Good. Had a great Christmas. I am really pumped for the new year. I don't know why. I've never been this excited for a new year. I feel like I'm always sad after Christmas, but for whatever reason, I'm really excited about next year, and I think it has to do with the games. I picked up something I've never done this before while gaming, but my best friend used to do it in college. He used to have candles lit when he was playing video games, and it like set the mood. So I bought this candle, and it's called leather plus embers. So I'm getting ready for Elden Ring. I feel like that's gonna light my room up, ready for Elden Ring. So I'm excited.
Dude,
Anyway,
that's so funny.
Good to see you.
When I played Bloodborne for the first time, I was just in a incense
Dungeon.
burning phase.
Yeah.
So I was burning incense the entire time I was playing Bloodborne, and now I can't think about Bloodborne without smelling.
Oh, that's
incense.
awesome. That's awesome.
That's awesome. And that
It heightens the
of course-
experience.
And that, of course, is the Duke of Design, Ben. Hope you had a good Christmas.
Hello, yes, it was great. We were this close, guys. We were this close to greatness. The night before Christmas, I look out the window and there's a light covering of snow over everything. I'm like, ooh, it's gonna be white Christmas. Here we go. My son has never experienced snow. This is great. I wake up in the morning, it's all gone. There's not a trace. Not a trace that it even happened. But on the 26th, the night of, or I guess 2 nights ago, we got dumped on. So we got
Nice.
lots of snow.
Nice.
Okay.
Oh, I
Yeah,
miss
so
that
just
so
after
much.
Christmas. A
So
white
jealous.
post Christmas. Yeah.
Me and our
Yeah, I
family
haven't
are
had any
jealous.
snow, so I'm jealous. And I hate snow.
What? You monster.
This is a conversation for another day because we also have to introduce the Duke of Education. How are you doing, Alfredo?
That's me. I'm doing great, but obviously down in Georgia I didn't get any snow, and instead I got 70-degree weather. That
Same here. That's
yeah,
weird.
that I just went on a run with my dog in a tank top. So
Oh,
a little bit of a different experience than the Duke of Design, but I'll take what I can get,
well,
which
good
is
to
no
hear.
snow.
Well, good
So
to
nothing.
hear. Good to hear. Good to hear. So, I know I'm usually the host, but I'm going to give the reins over to Ben.
Hold on. You forgot someone.
What?
Duke of Nostalgia, didn't you?
No,
Or am
I went
wrong?
first. I went
Oh,
first.
sorry. I
Oh,
was
I got it. He was first. He was
I was
first.
Hey, I
thinking about
appreciate
that
it. Looking out for me.
hot snow
That's
weather.
Alfredo.
Sorry.
Always looking out.
That's love
Always
right
looking
there.
out.
That's love right there.
The
just gotta
hidden,
make
he forgot the hidden Duke. We'll reveal him at a later date.
I was like, is there a new
Clearly.
Duke?
My bad.
a new window pops up.
Look, I'm
Yeah.
stressed over this game of the year, so my mind is just everywhere right now.
Well, it is worth stressing over. So, like I said, I'm going to hand the reins over to our Duke of Design, Ben. He's going to kind of explain what we're going to do for our game of the year. Go ahead, Ben.
All right, guys. Game of the year discussion time happening. We've been putting it off for long enough. Now it's time. So we're doing a weird system that just kind of came to me that I think could be fun and cause lots of conflict and strife, which is exactly what you want in a game of the year discussion. We are we're only selecting from a pool of games that were released this year. Whether or not they're re-releases of old games does not matter. If they were released this year, they qualify. So what we've done is we've ranked our top 3 games in no particular order. So each one holds equal value. These are our contenders. We've got 3 contenders each. And then after that, we've got 2 runners up. And neither of these are in the running for game of the year, but we're going to bring them up. We're going to discuss them. And should our opinions on any of our contenders change throughout our discussions, we can graduate our runners up into contender position while demoting one of our contenders into runner-up position. So I want this to be a little bit more of a fluid discussion where we're really discussing these games on the merits and keeping an open mind as we go in. We've got our lists now. These are the games that we've played and that we feel are worth considering, but that doesn't mean we're not going to change exactly where they fall on this list as we go. We're not going to add anything from outside this list, though. These lists are locked. So without further ado, I think we should start by just going over our runners-up, each of us. So Alfredo, Duke of Education, we want to take it away?
Me first, sure. So, should we do both of them, or should I just do one?
Yeah, let's do both of the runners-up.
Alrighty. Okay, so obviously I had a lot of trouble with this because I play too many games for my own good. So, what I decided was, or that I should at least give some sort of shout out, and I was close to becoming my contenders. My first game that I picked is a game that probably very few people picked, but I really feel is a hidden indie gem that also came to Xbox Game Pass. And what I did was pick this game called Dodgeball Academia. I think I said it right. So basically, this is an RPG, a JRPG kind of, but instead of being a turn-based RPG, it's more of an active time battler where you are throwing dodgeballs, literally having a dodgeball fight with the opposing opponent. You have stats, you have special moves, you have different characters that you can swap in and out of your three-team party, basically. And everything about this game is so great. It capitalizes on Saturday morning cartoon aesthetic in that when you play it, it just gives you that nostalgia. You really feel like you're a kid again watching the Saturday morning cartoons on WB Kids or whatever, Nickelodeon, all of those. And everything about this, from the actual battle system, the dodgeball system, never gets old. It's always fun, no matter like if you're level 1 or level 50 of building out your team or whatever. It never gets old. The writing is, I think it's amazing. It's like my type of humor where it's just very jokey, very slapstick, very like self-aware of itself, and it kind of plays on anime tropes as well, which I'm a huge anime fan, so I love it. And yeah, everything about this game is great, from its art to its writing to just its overall aesthetic. And you can get it free if you have Game Pass. So I really feel like this game deserved a shout out and was one of my, as it was one of my favorite games that I played this year. So the other game that I picked is a very popular game called Deathloop. Everyone knows the PS5 exclusive. It's my runner-up currently. Maybe someone will change my mind. But I picked Deathloop because honestly, I didn't expect myself to like the game because I personally don't really like FPSs all that much. As far as games from Arcane goes, they never really grabbed me. So with Dishonored and Dishonored 2, I played both of those games, finished Dishonored 1, never finished Dishonored 2 because it didn't really strike me as bringing anything new to the table. But something was different with Deathloop that it really drew me into its world. I really, really enjoyed the way that they told their story, even though it's not through usual cutscenes. It's more of you have to dig for the information. This game is really about making your own path and discovering things as you come through it. And if you want more information, you have to go searching for it. I'll leave, I'm sure this game will come up in more discussions, so I won't go too in depth into it, but I really enjoyed Deathloop, but just not enough. I think it didn't do anything special for me to have it earned a spot in my top 3 this year. But yeah, Deathloop and Dodgeball Academia are my 2 runner-ups.
Awesome. I think someone does have Deathloop on their list. Though I'm in the same boat with you. It's just been a weird year for games, in my opinion, and that is reflected in my list here. I've only got 4 entries of a 5 total because I realized that I only played 4 games that were released this year, and it was Deathloop was the only one that didn't make it into my contender list, which is strange because at the beginning of the year, if you had asked me, I probably would have said that Deathloop would have taken my Game of the Year nomination easily, right? But so I mean, it was Arcane's to lose, and I think in my book they lost it just because this game is not exactly what I want from an Arcane game. But we'll get into that a little bit more when it comes up on somebody's contender list. Clams, what about your runners up?
Okay, so I've got 2 runners up that are both 2s. I have Psychonauts 2. I have Psychonauts 2 because, similar to how Alfredo put it, it has strong Saturday morning cartoon vibes. It is funny in a way I like games to be funny. I like a funny game every once in a while, and Psychonauts is a series that really plays on the humor. It doesn't distract from the game. A lot of games will put in humorous moments, and it kind of detracts from the gameplay. In this game, it feels so natural. The characters are all goofy, and the characters are another big deal with Psychonauts 2. Is they're all memorable. I know a lot of people are put off by the art style of the Psychonauts games because they're kind of creepy, but and this might have to do with the voice actor of the main character, but it does give off sort of Cartoon Network creepy cartoon vibes like Billy and Mandy or Courage the Cowardly Dog, where it's eerie. Flapjack is another great example. It's eerie, but it's charming. It's charmingly eerie, and I really like Psychonauts 2 for that. I don't think it's a special game. It's a platformer that's a lot of fun, but it's nothing incredible. And I think a lot of people wanted Psychonauts 2 to be a lot better than Psychonauts 1, but I digress. It's a passable game with a lot of charm. It has so much charm, and it's a game where the characters in which I remember fondly. Um, they're not Pikachu, they're not Mario, they're not Captain Falcon or whoever, but they're contained to their own little fun universe. My second game is Deltarune Chapter 2. For a similar reason, it's fun. It's funny. Um, I don't personally think the um, Deltarunes have been as good as Undertale was. Undertale was amazing. It's hard to top that. But they're close. The Deltarunes are close to how good Undertale was. Um, for one reason or another, I think that Deltarune 2 has a very good group of characters, and I I don't know. I didn't like it as much as Undertale, and Undertale has a very special place in my heart. As you know, Duke of Nostalgia, I love remembering things, so you don't have to. And Deltarune, both Deltarunes, just sort of feel like kind of weaker follow-ups to a groundbreaking game,
Hmm.
and it just Deltarune has funny moments, and one of the markers I use for a game's durability or longevity is how memed it is. And Deltarune had some great memes, specifically with the character of Spamton. Spamton was introduced, and he's this funny little dude who just is so fun and new. He's unlike a lot of the other Undertale characters or even Deltarune characters, in that it's almost concerning to me that Deltarune has a character that is so one character that is so memorable. I know a lot of people like the little deer girl with the antlers and whatnot. I
Oh,
do
I
a lot of
thought
fan art of her.
Sans would be the one that everyone.
It's not. Spamton is probably the closest you can get to Sans, and I
Mhm.
think that's a problem because in Undertale, Sans was a breakout character, so popular. But every other character in that game, Toriel and the robot, and they're
What's
all
his brother's
memorable.
name?
Hmm?
Sans and the other
And
skeleton.
Papyrus.
Yes.
Papyrus was also super memorable. You have these characters that are just ultimately memorable, and then with the Deltarune games, I don't remember most of the characters. They don't really hold a candle to my soul like the characters in Undertale did. Every character in Undertale was like, that's that's so fun. That's so cool.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that's me being jaded because I have, Undertale vibes embedded in my soul, but um Spamton is the closest you get to one of those characters that you're like, everyone's going to remember Spamton. Whoever plays this game is going to come across this character and go, great character. And I know I'm talking a lot about characters because I think characters in a lot of like story-driven indie comedy games are important. I just don't think Deltarune has that. That said, I still love all of Toby Fox's mechanics in this game. All the cool mini game RPG mechanics that he's sown throughout these games are a blast to play. You have fun playing them, even if the characters aren't as strong as Undertale's. It's still worth a play, and that's why I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be more remembered than Deltarune Chapter 1. I don't think anyone played and retained Deltarune Chapter 1 because it
It's
didn't
been
have
so
that same.
long.
It's been
Also,
so
that
long.
since
It's been
we've
so long.
gotten another episode or another chapter.
Exactly. But that one came out after Undertale, and Undertale, was a home
Mhm.
run. It was something so new and cool and unique. And then it, I think Deltarune Chapter 2 has a special place in my heart for being something new again. It's trying to experiment more with characters and comedy and game design, and it's a lot of fun. It deserves to be on. It would never be Game of the Year in a million years. Undertale, I think, should be Game of the Year for the year it came out. Whatever that was, it was ages ago, 2013, 14,
For every year.
Long time.
for every
Basically.
year. But Deltarune Chapter 2 recaptures some of that excitement I had with Undertale that Deltarune 1 did not. So I have to give her credit for that, and that's where I am with my runner-ups.
It's so funny you mentioned that too, because I really feel like the Deltarune series and Dodgeball Academia are very, very similar in the nostalgia factor that they're trying to hit on, as well as the characters that they build, because I think that's their strong suit.
I would counter that. I was taking your example of Dodgeball Academia to Psychonauts, because I think Psychonauts, even though people don't remember the characters as fondly, they really do reek of old cartoons. There's something so special about the comedy that was that old jaded writers put into their kid shows back in the mid 2000s.
Right. Psychonauts kind of reminds me of like like early 90s Nickelodeon.
It's
Like,
exactly that.
It gave me that Ren and Stimpy vibes, you know?
Exactly that.
Yep.
Exactly
Me too.
that. So
Dodgeball Academia
I
is
think-
more Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's a great.
but
comparison.
I would put Psychonauts above Deltarune. Just saying. Not layered or anything, but Psychonauts to me is a lot better. People don't like it because the characters aren't as cute and funny and cuddly as Sans Undertale and his cute soft bones. But I think those characters, if you gave them the time of day, have a better place in your heart.
Yeah, I do feel like Psychonauts 2 was one of my big misses for games that I probably should have played.
Me
It's a
too.
great game.
Enjoyed a lot.
There's still
this year.
time.
I will be
Yeah.
not this year, but I'll be playing it early 2022 because I feel more inclined to visit it because I've only heard great things.
Yeah, I agree too. I picked it up and I'm gonna play it. I actually played the first 20 minutes, so
I
I'm
wish
on
I could have
board.
put it higher on my list. I wish I could have put it in my actual mentions for Game of the Year. It's just not, the platforming isn't special enough. It is still rudimentary 3D platforming.
I agree.
And I wish it was more, because I think it deserves more attention, because it's a big game. It's been a long time since the first Psychonauts, and everyone wanted Psychonauts 2, and I feel like it kind of got ignored too much. Too many people didn't play it, and I wish they had.
I
'Cause
do.
it deserves to be played.
I do want to piggyback on that, because I really wanted to put Psychonauts on my list, but I just couldn't because too many games. But I think also another thing that Psychonauts 2 specifically does very well is its level design.
Oh,
Each
yeah.
of its levels are extremely unique, and they have you might say it's a gimmick, but it's really fun. Like
But
the scenarios you get pulled in and what you can do in that world.
And I'm going to sell it to you, Ben, Duke of Design. The way those levels that Alfredo are describing are implemented story-wise, it's so seamless. You don't feel like you're changing levels because the story just keeps plowing through. And you don't even notice it like a cartoon. You're just watching, you're just experiencing. And I really appreciate that from Psychonauts.
Everyone
Excellent.
played.
Yeah.
And the first one. First one's very good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely
All on Game Pass.
extol the virtues of Game Pass. Yeah, I got a lot of respect for Double Fine and their LucasArts lineage and advancing advancing storytelling in this medium. I think they do that very well. Well, Duke of Rocket League, surprise us.
Well,
Your incredible
gonna-
picks.
I'm gonna surprise you because I hate to disappoint being the Duke of Rocket League.
Of course.
So, my honorable mention is Rocket League Sideswipe, a mobile game. Another testament to how weak this year is, and is it got a mobile game on my top 5 list. But it is a Rocket League game, so I just thought that this was an amazing. All you guys played it, right?
Yeah.
Or at least tried it. Oh man, Clams, you got to try it. It's free.
Yeah,
You can download it.
You don't want to
Download
see my
it
phone.
right
It's
now.
literally in 2 pieces. My phone is in 2 pieces. It barely works. So
Like
as soon as I
literally
get
in
a
two
new phone, I'll
pieces.
try it.
Sounds
They
like
did.
this.
It was made by Psyonix. They didn't they didn't contract it out or anything. It was made by Psyonix, which is awesome. They took the feel of Rocket League, boiled it down to a side-scrolling. I'm having some feedback, some echoing. Were you guys hearing that?
Nope.
Maybe it's my mic.
Oh, I hear
Anyway.
it a little bit.
Yeah. Huh. Anyway, they boiled it down to a side scroller where you have jump, you have boost, you have the 2 goals. Their matchmaking system that works so good in Rocket League works just as smooth and just as great on mobile, and it's just as addictive as Rocket League. It's just the baby version. Not much more to say about it. I just thought it was really great, and I probably put 15 hours into it, just playing here and there, picking up my phone before going to bed. It's so easy to play, and the games are 3 minutes long as opposed to 5 minutes. You can easily hop in, play 4 or 5 games, hop out.
Have you reached Diamond yet?
I have not. I think I'm gold. I think I'm gold on it. I have not reached champion.
Are you going to do the champion grind again?
Right.
I don't know. That took y'all. It took me 6 years.
Yeah.
So
Better get
6 years and probably 2,500 hours of playing Rocket League to get there. But anyway, yeah. So that was my number 5, or that was my honorable mention. Another one is Bowser's Fury, and I know Clams has this on his top 3, which I could be persuaded. I thought it was incredible. I didn't play 3D World when it first came out, so I was waiting for this to release. It was one of my most hyped games this year. I played it with my son. I had a ball playing it. Bowser's Fury was awesome. I don't think that's where Mario needs to go, to the open world. I don't think it works as good as the Kingdoms do in Odyssey. But it was great. I liked it a lot. Clams, you want to chime in on that? Or
I'll get to it when I get to it.
Before you do, I want to throw a challenge flag. Are you saying the 3D land, 3D World and Bowser's Fury? Or are you just saying Bowser's Fury?
No, I'm saying the whole package is what I'm saying. Honestly, I'm
just saying Bowser's Fury.
Yeah, see, now if it was just Bowser's Fury, I don't think I would not have it in my top 5.
Wait, so it's 2 different games?
Well,
I'm confused.
They come in the same package, but you can switch between. Yeah, it's 2 different.
I guess it is. Yeah, I guess it is. Okay, so I mean, my honorable mention would still be Bowser's Fury because the year is pretty weak, so it would still be there. But I put it here because of 3D World. I thought 3D World was incredible.
And that game, sorry, I'm uneducated about this, but this is the equivalent to Sackboy Big Adventure, right? Is that correct?
It's way better than Sackboy to me.
I mean,
Yeah,
like
it's
in
way
terms
better.
of gameplay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except it's Mario, so it's just Premiere, you know. But yeah, those are my 2.
Fair enough.
Very
Just
nice.
wanted to make sure because I might have been persuaded to put it in my top 5 if we were including the world part as well, because I love Super Mario 3D World. That's a great game.
That may be unfair to put it in the. I don't know. I feel like that's stepping out of bounds.
No, I think it's valid because
it's definitely valid.
It's the whole package. And it's a re-release of an old game plus what is essentially a standalone expansion of that game. So I think it's valid to lump them as one thing. It's what you're going to purchase, right?
Yeah, the package is a great package for sure.
Still keeping it.
All right, cool.
Well, we've only got one left to go over honorable mentions, and that's you, Thomas. Take it away.
Did you go?
Yeah. My only one was Deathloop.
But did you go? In general?
Yeah, I brought up Deathloop. I don't need to say much more until.
That's right. That's right. You don't have the other one. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first honorable mention, which is when I thought was going to be my game of the year to start the year, Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Look, I know it's a surprise, right? I had a great time. This is the only game that came out this year that I platinumed. I don't platinum games often. I just love this series so much. I think I love the direction that we're going in. I think we're going to get some great sequels out of this game. They've kind of set themselves up for the PS5 generation to just have some great follow-ups to this. Won't spoil the game for anybody, but we're probably going to get some new characters, some new spin-off games. I can't wait for that. But for this game, I feel that, yes, it's a PS5 exclusive and it looks incredible. I just felt that it didn't do enough. Mm-hmm. It didn't do enough for me to feel like this is something that can only be done on the PS5, especially since, the big thing was those portals. The portals were like, oh, that's the next gen thing. It really isn't that impressive. Like, if you really think about it, like I was playing Portal 2 this year and I'm like, oh, this is honestly more impressive than what Ratchet and Clank was doing. And that was the one thing that really felt next gen about it. And so for me, it just seems like another Ratchet and Clank game. To me, it's in my top 3 Ratchet and Clank games, sitting comfortably at 3. But it's definitely not a must play. for PlayStation 5 owners. Which
Does this cement your Insomniac as your favorite studio, because they have your favorite game, which is Marvel Spider-Man, of course.
which to be honest, Ben,
Like-
if it would be like the remaster for Spider-Man would be my game of the year if it came out in 2021.
Yeah.
So yeah, they still are my favorite developer. They still to me are the premier developer for PlayStation, just because Naughty Dog's great and all, but Naughty Dog makes a game once every like 4 or 5 years.
And they don't speak to you the same way. I mean,
Right.
you've got a
So,
special
yeah.
love
Very
for Spider-Man.
different games.
Right. But I mean, even with that all being said, Ratchet and Clank is a great experience. I had a great time with it. It's the best looking game on PlayStation 5. So if you want something to, show off your new console, how shiny and how great the games look, get this game. But at the same time, it's not a must play.
Well, I don't know if we want to wait till we get this, but this is in my game of the year discussion.
Well, you're jumping the gun a little bit there,
I
Cole,
am.
but well, okay, let's get there right after Thomas goes over his next honorable mention.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I'll be a little more quick with this one. So, my next honorable mention is Life is Strange True Colors.
Good
I
pick.
never thought that they would get me back. I thought they lost me. I thought that this franchise lost me. I love the first game. Like the first game spoke to me, even though I'm not a teenage girl at a boarding school. It spoke to me. I loved
You aren't?
it. No. News. No, I'm not.
Had me tricked.
But yeah, I love True Colors because the first one spoke to me. The second one lost me completely.
I think it lost everyone, honestly.
The spin-off lost me completely. Like I thought I was done with this franchise. And no, this is to me the definitive Life is Strange experience. Like if you want to know like why do people like Life is Strange, play this game. It does everything that I wanted it to do. It expands the formula. It tells a really compelling story. I think that this game has no right to be as good as it is from a narrative standpoint. So even I think Alfredo, you watch like a let's play of it. If you want to do it that way, you can do it that way as well. I don't prefer that way, but to experience the story, I just recommend by any means necessary, just watch or play this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to, if you're done, I want to hop
no.
on that because, like you said, I did watch a Let's Play of it. I played the first one and the second one, but I watched a Let's Play of this because I was in the same exact situation as you. I thought they lost me. And this one is my favorite one. Even though I didn't get to play it personally, the True Colors is, I think, the best Life is Strange game. And it's because of everything that you said, Thomas, primarily the narrative. Like, it's a lot better than you think it would. And what's really rare is that I was shocked that who makes this? Did Don't Non make this game, or did they pass it off?
No, they passed it on to a different studio. I forgot the name of the
Deck
studio.
9.
Deck 9, yes,
Okay,
correct.
Well, regardless, I think what's nice about this is that Deck 9 was able to learn and really craft and reinvigorate the series by learning upon the mistakes that were made by the previous failures. They made it non-episodic. All of it was in one package, so you didn't have to deal with the episode issues and the delays and all of that. And then they just focused on what they do best by making a really great narrative, and it thrived because of that. I think it's like one of the best selling Life is Strange's, or if not the best selling. But yeah, it's a very good game. Everyone should play it if they have the opportunity. The only thing I would say is I don't quite know if it's worth that $60 price point, but definitely if it's on a sale for 30 or 40, I could definitely recommend it there.
It's on sale right now for pretty much the majority of consoles. So I recommend it at 40. Yeah, like you said, like I paid 60, but I can't tell anybody, pay $60 for this 10-hour experience. I can't really say that per se, but I had a great time with it. And honestly, you would think the power of, I feel people's emotions. That sounds really stupid. Just saying, it sounds really stupid, but they made that very compelling. And I think they deserve a load of credit. Shouts out Deck 9.
Very nice. Well, we're in the We are in real territory now.
We're in the end game now.
Yeah. It has
Nervous.
begun. Let us talk about the contenders. Our bids for Game of the Year. I didn't discuss this earlier, but how we're going to select Game of the Year is a little different than I think the intuitive way to do it, which is just to rank order them and then assign points. And that's like the simple way to do it. But I wanted to complicate things, to ruin our lives, because what I really want is good conversation at the end of the day. So what we have done here is, in no particular order, we've got our 3 contenders. And what will determine Game of the Year winner overall for us is which game among these contenders shows up in the most people's list. The idea behind this is sort of that if it speaks to enough of us to put it in our top 3, then it's overall a good enough game for many different types of gamers that we would recommend it as a Game of the Year win. That, however, means that there can be some games that 1 or 2 of us totally hate that end up as Game of the Year, right? That's just the nature of the beast. And so, part of this is going to be, I think, us trying to talk each other in and out of our opinions on certain of these games. But with that being said, there are a couple games we can all see the list right now, and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody.
I can't see it.
Oh, you don't have the sheet up?
No, I want genuine reactions. I'm ready to be shocked and surprised.
Gotcha.
And hopefully not disappointed, gentlemen.
Well, right now we've got, surprisingly, to my eye, it seems that we have 4 actual legitimate contenders that have repeats, and they're all tied. So this might end up going horribly. But before we get into what those games are, let's just talk in general about the games on our list. So, Cole, why don't you start with the game at the bottom of your list?
Okay, the bottom of my list is Ratchet and Clank. And the reason is, I don't think it does anything particularly special, but the fact that it does 2 things very well makes it special, I think. The graphics, to me, are just as good as Kena Bridge of Spirits, but the gameplay is absolutely top-notch, best in class, third-person arcade shooter. And I feel like a game like Kena doesn't have the gameplay. It only has the graphics. Ratchet and Clank have both. I think the story's weak, but I think that it takes Ratchet and Clank to a new level. Yeah, I mean, it's, I think it's okay. I mean, it's not nothing. I mean, look, you to Ratchet and Clank is like Alfredo to Kingdom Hearts.
No, it's not that serious.
No,
it's not that serious. It's not that serious, but
but I'm just. It's not that serious. Look, it's not weak. I wouldn't say it's weak. I would just say it's to be expected. It didn't. I'm not saying it's. So it's weak is probably bad. Let's just say it's in the range of what I thought it would be. Fair. Nothing special.
Predictable,
nothing special, serviceable. But graphics and gameplay wise, it's pretty much a 10 out of 10.
I don't know. I feel like I have to disagree. This isn't even on my list, but I feel like it did do something special because first I will say that I'm not the hugest Ratchet and Clank fan, although they do have Swords Kingdom Hearts Blade in it, so little biased. But I think I played the first one, the 2016 remake one. I wasn't impressed. I thought the game was overhyped in general. If it was supposed to be a good representation of what the series is, I thought it wasn't for me. And then when this one came out, I thought it really blew the 2016 remake out of the water in all aspects. I think that the story was very, very good. I thought that the characters that they introduced, the new ones, as well as the original ones, Ratchet and Clank, had so much more depth and it was so much more engaging that it made me a fan. Not a fan enough to, make it one of my picks, but I think that it does definitely deserve credit where it's due. And I thought they did a lot of things that should be,
No, I agree, and that's why it's in my Game of the Year discussion. Mm-hmm. I was just kind of saying what I thought was the weaker parts, but So I guess I would say that I did think the story was good. I'm just saying
The
that
story
particular
is the
part of
weakest
it.
aspect of the game.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like the fact that it did graphics and gameplay, and me and Alfredo came into this in the same boat. We weren't really Ratchet fans, but it made us Ratchet fans. So like that really makes it special too, you know? The fact that it steps out of that Ratchet and Clank, oh, it's just another Ratchet and Clank game. This put Ratchet and Clank into a whole new stratosphere for me. So like that is what I feel like makes it special, because it really stepped out of its lane, and it made it to top tier kind of game.
This is a kind of cheeky comment, but do you remember Final Fantasy 15, Alfredo?
Do you?
Unfortunately, yes.
Do you remember the first thing you see when you open that game, where it's like the Final Fantasy 15 for newcomers and fans?
I don't think I remember.
That's the first
I tried
thing you
to
see
block
when you
out
start-
this game. Okay.
When you start the game, that's what it says. I think this is the Ratchet and Clank game for both fans and newcomers. I think this was a great intro. It didn't do a lot like of lore stuff of Ratchet and Clank to get you guys kind of confused. But it also had enough references for somebody like me who's played most of them to appreciate. So I think they did a really good job balancing it up. I think that kind of affected the story, because they're trying to do this kind of soft reboot / continuation of the old story. I'm like, and that kind of like throws off the story to me. But I think it does a good job of appealing to both sides of the coin.
So exactly a great example to what you said is the movie Star Trek in 2009. It was that kind of thing. Like it brought in the new people, and it was such an awesome, like just solid experience for new people and everyone. And even the old fans liked it too a little bit, that it kind of propelled it into greatness.
I love that movie. And
I do too.
I don't like
Exactly.
I love that movie
Hey,
too.
I love Ratchet and Clank, and I don't like Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, that's a good metaphor.
Fair.
That's a good way to look at it. That's a great
Very
way
nice.
to look at it.
Well, that is Ratchet and Clank's only contender slot right now. So
I could be tempted.
Because
that's right. It is on Thomas's runner up list.
we'll circle back to it later.
We'll circle back.
It's
Right.
a good pick though. I was gonna
okay,
put it in mine
Thomas.
for sure.
You want to
So-
tell us one at the bottom of your list?
So I didn't realize that we were ranking our three.
No, they're not ranked.
We're
They're
not.
not
Okay.
ranked. We're just going from bottom of the top of the Excel sheet if you're looking at it. But
Can I request something from Thomas real quick?
Okay.
Can you start with your second one instead? Because that kind of ties into the conversation we're just having. Your second pick, your middle pick.
See, my second pick is not the one you're seeing. It's
Oh.
a different one.
It's the one that starts with
all right,
M.
just go with any of the games.
So
on
my
your list.
I'll go with my third one because I was going to get to it. Metroid Dread.
Yeah,
Metroid Dread's
okay.
my third game. I didn't think it was possible. Like when y'all say it's a weak year, I look at the list and I'm like, Metroid Dread shouldn't even be possible. This game was Taylor, when was this game announced? Like when did we first hear about Metroid
Last
Dread?
year.
No.
Last
But like it's been rumored for a
It's
while.
been in development.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
on internet forums. It's been rumored since like 2012.
Right. I've heard about this game since I was in high school. Like I never thought I would get a 3D or 2.5D Metroid game. I never thought I'd get that. We kind of got that with Samus Returns, but we don't gotta talk about that.
It's a good game.
It's okay, but Metroid Dread to me, it couldn't have done anything better for me. As far as what it was
Are you
going
sure?
for what it was
Just
going for. Because the thing is, I think where you don't like it is you're comparing it to modern games that have learned from Metroid.
But this is a modern game though. This just came out this year.
You walked right into his
Right.
trap. You walked into his
Yep, you
trap.
did.
No. And look, that's a fair criticism, and I don't hold you for it. But what I'm saying is with Metroid Dread, it's the perfect sequel to the original Metroid games. Like, I don't want Metroid to take from Hollow Knight. I don't want Metroid to take from Ori, because then it's not Metroid anymore. Those games took from Metroid itself.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
does
want
kind
it
of
to just
suck.
be- I don't want it to be a revolving. Okay, we're Tomb Raider takes from Uncharted. Now Tomb Raider's gonna. I'm sorry. Uncharted takes from Tomb Raider. Now Tomb Raider takes. I don't like that. Like I don't like those games for that reason, because I'm like it's kind of like the influencer is now the influencee, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
I'm glad this game feels like it took some modern things, but for the most part, it feels like a true successor to, for me, Metroid Zero. Or I'm sorry, what's the one on Game Boy? Fusion. I'm sorry, Fusion.
yeah.
Metroid Fusion. It feels like the direct successor to that. And I just had a great time with it. Just from a gameplay perspective, it's the best feeling Metroid game, just bar none. I don't think it's even close from a just how Samus feels the control. I think they nailed it perfectly. I just, and the level design, like once you get the hang of it, and like I think Clam said it best, like because it was confusing at first for all of us. Once you get it and you understand how to clear each place and or how the transports work, it's just to me an amazing experience. Now I could be persuaded to put it in the honorable mentions.
Well, and
depending on how this
so
goes.
that's my question. Is like, my question is, what makes it better to you than Ratchet and Clank? Because to me, it's almost a similar argument you have is that it's just like the pinnacle of, or it's just a really great,
of what
yeah,
it was
exactly.
of previous iterations.
For me, why I would put it, and look, I'm fluid with it because I have been just debating whether to put it at 3 or 4. But for me, Ratchet and Clank felt like just more of the same, and the adjustments made were very slight. This feels like a true generational leap between, and it's cheating because the last game we got in the series was Metroid Fusion, but it feels like a true leap compared to. I love both the original Ratchet and Clank for PS4 and I love Rift Apart. They don't feel that much different. Like the gap between those two is not that far to me. The gap in terms of just like the advancement between Metroid Fusion and this is just very vast to me. And that's why to me right now it's taking the nod.
Daddy Ben, can I jump into this a little bit? I know it's
Please
on my
do.
list, but yeah.
No,
Okay.
now's the time.
Okay, perfect. Metroid Dread to me is probably my game of the year. My number one nomination. It is fun. It is fun. I would agree that it does feel like a nice successor to those original Metroid games. But on top of that, I do think that it is something we haven't really seen in gaming in a while. A challenging Metroidvania that really harkens back to those arcade day games where this was the first game I've played in a while that has made me think about it outside of just sitting down and playing it. I've had those games before. Uncharted is one of those. Uncharted 4 was hugely. I kept thinking about it, and a lot of the Far Cries and a lot of Fallouts are games that do that too. But this was the first game that made me feel like I was accomplishing something. I feel like a lot of the level design in this game, and Thomas, you referenced it a little bit, is so exploratory. It really makes you feel a part of the game. It really makes you feel like you are learning about this world, without being overbearing, without being heavy-handed. Like, oh, here's what you need to do next. And yes, they've got those the robot AIs in the middle of each level to kind of guide you in the right direction. But
Worst part of the game.
Worst part of the game. Yeah, I would agree.
The AIs?
The robots.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, not the robots. I mean the AI that tells you
Like
in a
the
British
save
voice,
consoles.
like, "Oh, Samus, you
Yeah.
need to you remember, you need to go here."
Oh, Alex?
Alex.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him.
I
I thought you were
like-
talking about the
yeah.
where's the
The Emmys?
robots?
Red.
The Emmy.
The Emmys.
Those are my least. I hate those parts.
I like those things because they feel like a bit of a challenge, but after you get in like the flow of it, like the first time you battle one, you're like, I, you're desperate. You're scrambling for life, and then you kind of get it, and the rest of the game feels like the challenge. And then you get to these bosses, these mini bosses, and you have to beat them, and you've already learned how to beat them, and you're kind of like, yeah, I got this. I'm a badass space mercenary. I got this. The game made me think about it outside of the game, and to me that's a big part of what makes gaming fun, is if it can follow you into the real world. And I know this isn't the same for everyone. I'm not going to try to establish like this thought process to everyone who played it, but to me, it if I got stuck on a level, I could go sit down, read a book, watch TV, go to work, and kind of like in the back of my head ruminate on what I was doing in the game. It was an experience. It's a great gaming experience that I haven't felt in a fair while. Because a lot of games to me nowadays are very story driven, which is fine. I like story driven games, but when it comes to just a game, I don't think Metroid's a story driven game. I know there's a stupid long lore that a lot of people care about, but who cares about all this nonsense space bird stuff? At the end of the
A lot
day,
of
you're
people,
playing the
apparently.
game to play the
Yeah.
game. And I know, Alfredo, some of your complaints earlier in the year were that the game was too forgiving for your losses. And I think that's fine. That's a modern way of playing. You can't get new players nowadays if you have that same sort of difficulty setting that old SNES and Genesis games had, because they were just basing it off of arcade games, which were quarter play. You if you lose, you lose. You can't do that anymore. And I think the way they've implemented in this game, where there is a slight retraction in progress, works really nicely. Um, I it's just a pure and simple game to me. It's just the most gamey game I've played this year. Um,
A throwback.
it's a throwback, but it also does borrow from some more modern Metroidvanias, which is nice because it makes playing the game a lot less horrible, like the old Metroids game. I like the old Metroids, and I'm not even super nostalgic about them because I didn't play them till much later. It's just they have their place, and same with Castlevania. They have their place in the legacy of gaming, but I don't love them. This game was so it was nice and forgiving in certain aspects, but it was also balls to the wall challenging in other aspects, and that makes me feel like it's an important game. A lot of games need to AAA. You need to have Sony, Nintendo, AAA studios putting out games that aren't story driven, because that's what people want, because they want games to replace movies. You need people to replace games with games, good games, and this was a good game. It wasn't a story; it was just a game, and I had a lot of fun with it. A lot of fun. It's the first game I've beaten in a week in a while, because a lot of games, story-driven games, you kind of get slogged down in the stories, and even in platformers without games, you kind of get bored. You kind of get, I don't want to progress anymore. Metroid Dread, you want to progress, you want to get to the end because you genuinely feel like you're accomplishing something. And I do think, even though the maps are large and kind of overwhelming at first, that's that's a great experience to have, because in our modern world, at least, we don't have this sort of overbearing what am I going to do feeling, because you can Google it. But if you play the game naturally, it does have this overbearing appeal that isn't too overbearing. Bearing. I I think I'll sum it up nicely with, this game feels well balanced in all regards. Every single regard of the game. Story, which isn't important, balanced. Gameplay, balanced. Level design, balanced. And map design is balanced in a way that I think is fun and exciting. And so it's my game of the year.
Well said.
I
It's
hear you.
interesting, this point that you make about gamey games, because I feel like this year is an opportunity for these gamier games to shine in years where, as opposed to years where, like last year where we had games like not God of War, Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima,
Yeah.
Mhm.
extraordinarily
Or
story-driven
narrative.
games,
based
right?
games.
Yeah, and these were the shoo-ins for Game of the Year, largely off of the strength of their narrative, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would. Well, Last of Us, yes, but I wouldn't say that for Ghost of Tsushima specifically because I feel like that is a game that had both, and I feel like Game of the Year should be
Is it-
games
I'm-
that do have both.
I'm gonna say the meme. This is the Dark Souls of Metroid games. No, it isn't. It really isn't. But when I think of gamey games, I do think of the Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Ghost of Tsushima games, because they are hard and they do make you feel accomplished when you do something without
story takes a
without
backseat.
having to rely on narrative, without having to rely on reward systems. They just progressively make you feel like you're playing the game and learning and getting good at the game. And Metroid is a very smoothed out version of that. It's not super hard, it's not super easy. It's just when you get into that gamer zone, when you get into the zone, you just play it, and you play it at your own pace, and it feels cool. It feels cool to play the game at your own pace. Meanwhile, Dark Souls or Bloodborne, you get into the zone and then you immediately hit one of those bosses that just throws you out of your zone and you got to reassess. And those games are great. Those games are great for that reason. But I like Metroid Dread just letting you play the game at your own pace and making you feel like you're just experiencing a game.
Yeah, and
I
I
have
see a lot.
question. Oh, good, Ben.
I
But
was
I do
just
have
gonna say I see a lot of gamey games on our list.
Yeah,
this
that's
year
exactly
for
what I was thinking too.
contenders. They're the majority, I think, of the games on our lists are not narrative
Yeah.
driven.
I doubt you're counting Ratchet and Clank in that, but that's a game. Ratchet and Clank, the old games to me felt gamey game, and throwing in kind of like these grand narratives, kind of feels a little counterintuitive. To me, that's Ratchet and Clank's an example of a game that I felt like had a great gamey game feel in the 3D platforming space, but kind of recently has started to go grand narrative with it, which isn't a bad thing. It's just I don't care. I don't care. I might if I really put my time into it, but I don't. That's not what interests me about games. Those
Fair
sort of
enough.
games, at least.
So, it's now the time for rebuttals
Sure.
because I do have. Well, as you guys know, Metroid Dread is
Your
not
favorite game?
is not one of my favorite games for this year.
Alfredo
For the
thinks it's
reasons that you
worse
said.
than Duke Nukem Forever, y'all.
I
That is
didn't
exactly.
say
Those
that.
are quoted words.
I never even played that game, but I heard.
Thinks it's the ET of our generation.
Look, what I definitely
Alien in
hear
the
you,
desert.
Lambs. I hear you on all your points, but the
But
problem
you're
with
evil. I get it.
the problem that I have with this game is that Metroid Dread specifically, it feels so much like a game that is stuck in the past. I disagree with the sentiment that you can't make a game challenging because it won't sell as much because we have that now. We have
Oh,
the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
Dark
yeah.
Souls franchise, all of that. I just feel like this game, while you said when you get in the groove and it becomes fun, I definitely agree with that. Once I got in the groove of that, I was having a blast. Once I was getting my upgrades, once I was progressing. The problem is that this game felt like I was fighting this game to progress into it. It felt like I was fighting the game to play it because specifically the map design was non-intuitive, was very old school. They didn't learn from the games that have come that I think they should borrow from.
Nope.
I know Thomas was saying that
Nope.
you want to keep it
Nope.
separate with Uncharted and Tomb Raider and all
Nope.
that, but I think that games should always reiterate on what is making games more modern, what is making them more special. And this game isn't doing that in certain aspects, which makes it more frustrating than enjoyable. Specifically, what I'm talking about is because the map design, it took me between 9 or 10 hours to finish this game. I kid
Sure,
you not, 5 of those hours was me literally walking around trying to figure out where to go. like 5
All
hours.
right,
I
and-
counted. I wasn't using walkthroughs. I wasn't doing anything. I was fighting the map design. And it turns out that, I was supposed to just shoot this, random block, which isn't indicated in any way on the map. You're
You
just supposed
sound
to
like
know.
that. You
Hold
sound
on,
like that.
before you go, Clams, I wanted to say, just for the record, I stand behind out everything Alfredo says. I'm 100% on board with him.
You,
I do not like this game.
I do like the game, but I'm fighting the game's map design to play it. Once I got in the groove after that, I was having fun when I was actually able to play the game, but that prevented me from progressing and playing the actual game.
Yep, I
See,
quit playing.
other
I didn't
issues.
finish it like you did. I just quit. I was like, I don't have time for this. This is
See,
I mean,
okay.
I do have
This
other
is not
issues
fun.
like the Emmys specifically, which is supposed to be the big like the big scary, the big promo. All the Emmys are on all the posters. This is called Metroid Dread, and they didn't induce that feeling after like the first time. I'm not scared of the Emmys. Like you stated before, another critique is that I feel like this game is also unforgiving. It's not that hard. It gives you save points that are extremely forgiving when you come to a Emmy. It's I don't feel scared because I know I'm just going to be set right outside.
it's
the
it's.
door.
I
But
feel
hold
like
on.
a part of that
I'm
is your
sorry.
feeling.
This is a question.
Yeah.
So, do you not like? Because I'm confused. Because you say it's easy, but it's challenging.
I don't think it's easy.
Like
You do
I'm kind
kinda
of getting
say
just getting
that.
confused because I get what you're saying. Because I have the same That's my main criticism of it. Why I'm debating putting it in honorable mentions, because I did not like the map design 100%. I did look through walkthroughs for a couple things. Like I just I don't care.
I was too
You know.
stubborn to do that.
Yeah, sometimes I am, but as I've gotten older, I'm just like fuck it. As long as I like the gameplay, I don't care.
I mean, if I did do that,
is it-
I'm sure I would like it more.
Is it too?
Honestly.
But what was easy about it, and what was challenging? Because that's where I'm getting confused.
Maybe I
Because you
used
said
the
it was
wrong
not
word.
challenging.
The better word would be it's not. It doesn't induce dread, as the name implies. It is not. It is too forgiving in that the Emmy example that I gave, that you don't get a challenge in that way. In that, oh my god, if I get to this certain point and I have to face this Emmy, I have to claw my way out of this situation. No, I just have to start right outside the room and try again until I succeed. It just doesn't.
Are you jaded by life? Has life brought you down?
I don't. Taylor, I
I'm
think
just
we need to get the guillotine.
No. Okay.
Hey,
So
I'm with him. I'm letting Alfredo talk for me because he's saying all my points, but
okay.
I'm totally on his side of the fence on this.
So I would like to make the argument for the map, because I think the artistic design of this game is because a lot of people have complained, oh, this isn't a $60. You see, Alfredo, you're on the wrong side of history. You're with that fat schlub sexist who worked on God of War.
No, guilt by association. Here we go.
Oh no.
No, I what I'm saying is I'd like to give some credit where credit's due to the map and art design for this game, because I think
I can't go with you there.
why not?
I can't go with you on the map. I'm
Oh,
listening.
design
I'm
is
listening
not
though.
good.
I'm listening though.
I gotta fight for the map because I loved the map. I think the map is super intuitive. I don't think it's at all confusing. It was the part of because everything is literally written out for you on it. You scroll over it and
But it's not. But it isn't. I
But it
wouldn't have
is.
that problem.
No, it is for key. No, you both are right. It is for key things. It is for key parts of the game. But there are moments that Alfredo is right about where there would be a block that you have to hit that really isn't like that is a very fair point. I'm not going to disagree with that.
Sure. No, I do agree that there are like 2 or 3 rooms of the game where yes, they could have telegraphed what you needed to do better. 2 or 3 rooms. Most of the rooms are so clearly telegraphed that you just do them, and the more
I disagree
abilities.
with that as well, though. Because a lot of the times this game likes to block off certain rooms and have, now you can only do this specific room. So a lot of the time the map
Ex-
didn't accurately
Yeah,
reflect
yeah.
that.
No. You're right, but also wrong. No, it does block off certain rooms, which confines the map. You get every single level of the game, as it were, literally blocks you into a small segment of the room. This is where I don't understand people who make this argument. I've heard this argument so many times. They'll say the map is too big, and then, well, I couldn't figure out what to do, but I couldn't go anywhere. So you have to do something in the confined space you're in, and usually that confined space is 6 or 7 rooms.
But I disagree because you could always go somewhere because there were teleporters. So
But
it
you
made
can't
it
go
seem like
you can't go throughout
you
the
can't go
whole
everywhere, but
game.
it was
Like,
still
that,
a
like,
very large area, is what I'm saying.
the teleporter
like, a very
will
large.
like there are certain points in the game where you do not have access to every single teleporter you have.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly. But
and the
even
game
when
is
you do,
telling
but
you
even
that you have to stay in this confine.
and yes, okay, I will.
And I think
will,
the combine is too big.
I will cede.
That's fair.
I will
That's fair.
cede to you that sometimes when the game has those two levels where you get to use the teleporter in between each confined space, because still those spaces between levels are confined. Usually that's for a reason. Sorry. Usually that's for a reason, and usually that reason is something in the other level still needs to be picked up by you. The great thing I love about this game is the sight lines in the map. The map is drawn for you in a way that if you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I'm stuck in these 7 rooms, and yes, there's a teleporter stuck between them. But I see a little bit of the map opening up a door up here. There's a room above this room. You can tell that from the map just by exploring it using your own brain. You can tell that there's a different room right above one of the rooms that you are stuck in. And the game, I think, does a good job of keeping you limited to a certain amount of rooms. It may seem overwhelming, but it takes no time to get from room to room if you've already gotten a lot of the upgrades or just even beaten that room to begin with. And you can go, okay, there has to be something to get me up into that room. Whether I have to go over a room and up a room to get into the room, or it is in this room and I go up in a room. It's puzzle solving. You're slowly but surely puzzle solving to open up the map. The map is a big, big puzzle. And you have to figure it out with your gameplay. And I really do love that. And so a great example is there was one of those streamers who was super against the gameplay of of Metroid Dread. And he was like, there's an unlocked chest to get like 10 more rockets. How do I get there? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And he tried it like 10 times. And then he was like, oh, maybe if I try it this way, I forgot I had this power up. If I use this power up, I can get to that rocket. And he failed a couple times because it was a tough upgrade to pull off. But he figured it out. He didn't need anyone to tell him how to get that unlocked chest, but he did it. And you know what? He felt proud for doing it. That's what, at its essence, that's what I think gaming should be, is making the gamer, the person playing, I hate using that word, the person playing feel like they are truly accomplishing something incredible. And even if it's just unlocking 3 more rockets to your suit, and you have to figure out that puzzle, that's cool. And Metroid Dread doesn't it drags you along in the parts it needs to drag you along in. It drags you through the story, it drags you to point A to point B, and it keeps you confined to the places you need to be with exploration, but it also lets you have some freedom to experiment and find your own path. And I think that is truly something a lot of other Metroidvanias don't do. A lot of other Metroidvanias kind of do keep you on a nice linear path.
There's lots to argue about with Metroid Dread. But
and
can we all agree?
Wrong.
Can we all agree that Metroid Dread was the most argued about game this year?
It's the most divisive game of the year of gaming.
I think it was too.
It would have been The Last of Us last year, and this year I think it was Metroid Dread.
Yeah, that's true.
So Nintendo gets that little shiny sticker for most argued about game, but they might not be getting our game of the year because there's only 2 votes for Metroid Dread with no possible additional votes. So we will have to see how things shake out.
I think Alfredo's on the fence.
Yeah. no possible additional votes. It's not on his list. Okay, I want to take it to a game that I feel is somewhat inspired by Metroid that is on my list. Going from Nintendo to PlayStation here. If it's not Metroid inspired, it's certainly inspired by the things that inspired Metroid, namely Alien. I'm talking, of course, about Returnal, Housemarque's game that came out in August. Returnal's a weird one. I have gone back and forth with this game just in my feelings with it because it is one of these games that is truly punishing. It's not. I wouldn't say that the game is difficult because it is doable, right? But the consequences for failure are steep, much like Dark Souls, where I don't know that you can we often think about Dark Souls in terms of its difficulty, but I don't think it's really the difficulty that does it. It's not that there's just a skill ceiling that you can't get over. It's about how much you're willing to bear with the repetition of dying and retrying. And the more I play Returnal, the more I feel like it's worth barreling through, right? The more that is exposed, the more that is revealed. I don't know how I would feel if the fundamentals of this game weren't as solid as they are. This game plays incredibly well. The gameplay is just phenomenal. It's in my mind, a perfect marriage between Housemarque's arcadey roots and the expectations of a modern AAA game with, the third person over the shoulder-ish camera. That core shooting and dodging and jumping and zipping and just frantic, hectic bullet hell awesomeness in this, third person, close third person view, because all of Housemarque's games are third person. It's different. I haven't played many games like this that don't have a fixed camera. So yeah, I am not finished with Returnal, and that's a theme for two of the games on my top 3 list. I only have 4 games on my list, and I haven't finished 2 of them.
Year of the backlog.
Yeah, right. Seriously. But yeah, so I think Housemarque has hit on something that is just nobody else is doing. I feel it's special. It's unique. It's interesting. It's incredibly challenging in the sense that it's so punishing. But it's well worth chipping away at, and I can't wait to see the end of it. It's on somebody else's list. Cole, you got anything to add there?
Yeah. My game of the year in 2013 was Resogun. And I was so hyped for Returnal because of that, because you said it perfectly. It's a perfect marriage of I forgot what would you say exactly? It was a perfect marriage of what?
Housemarque's arcade roots with the modern sensibilities of a third person action game.
Beautiful. The Duke of Design coming in clutch right there. Yeah, and I think so. What makes it one of the reasons I like it so much is the weight of death in the game, which is a lot of my favorite games are like that. I used to play SOCOM U.S. Navy SEALs, and it was where there was no respawn. You die, you're out for the rest of the round. Bloodborne, Dark Souls, all these games have weight to death, whereas these first-person shooters is one of the reasons I didn't really like them. And kind of like how Alfredo was talking about, there's no consequence in Metroid Dread. You just die and respawn. But Returnal has that weight to it, so every run felt unique. And I'm a big fan of Dead Cells and Hades, so it's like the rogue runs. I thought they did a great job, and I think that the sound design in particular sticks out to me in that game. The graphics, the gameplay, the story. It's not I don't think it's a super great story, but it's different. It feels special, and it feels like it really stands out as a game of the year contender to me. I don't really have anything else to add, but it may be my game of the year. I don't even know at this point, but looking at my list, it may be.
So don't call me Scrooge.
Oh,
Bring it on.
So I bought Returnal when it first came out. I played, I'd like to say 10 hours of it. I got to like the fourth biome. And while I appreciate this game, because just from a dual sense standpoint, this is probably the second best dual sense and 3D audio implementation besides Astro's Playroom. This game, just from a control, your controller feels alive when you play this game, and I have to give it a lot of kudos for that. Part of me wishes they had just done a Dark Souls formula as opposed to the roguelike formula with this. I'm not a fan of, and I progressed far, but I didn't like how I progressed. I didn't like the progression system in this game at all. And it made me think like, wow, like Dark Souls in a lot of ways is forgiving from a progression standpoint compared to this. Like,
Definitely.
because I don't think you get like, not to spoil anything, but I don't think you get like a progression like in terms of you can skip bosses until like the third boss, right?
There's a few things that you get that stay with your character.
Yeah, but you have to go through bosses again and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I wish it was more like Dark Souls. I feel like Dark Souls, like there is an even more sense of loss in this game than even Dark Souls. And that's something I didn't like. Because I'm like, I think Dark Souls and Bloodborne, they hit it perfectly. Like if you're risky and you keep your souls on you and you die, that's on you. You can try to go get them back, but you know, it is what it is. Like, I like that kind of risk reward. This, to me, like, it's too many times where you can unfairly die. And if you aren't progressed enough, you feel like I can honestly say there's no game that makes me feel shittier about dying than Returnal.
That's fair.
And that was something that just turned me off, where it was like, I probably would have picked this up if it's like $40, $50. This is a $70 game. And so for me to put the amount of time in, and I got pretty far, but it was a lot to get there. I felt like I put a lot in. I have to respect the game. That's why I won't challenge nobody for it's not a situation where like I understand why it might be your game of the year, Cole, and I understand, Ben, why you have it ranked so high. I just personally it's in my top 10. It's in my top 10, but I can't put it in the top 5.
I will say on that, Thomas, that I think that was their weak point. Was I think the runs are a little they're too lengthy. If they could have
also
nailed that,
not to cut you off, sorry, I forgot to mention. Also, when I played it, they didn't have the save thing, so I have to keep this thing on my PS5, and I can't switch to any other games, or else I'm going to lose a run. And these runs are not.
I'm wondering if that would change, our opinions about the game now. For the better. I'm sure it would.
Yeah, I probably would have beat it if they had that at launch. Probably. But, it's unfortunate I played the game and I probably will go back to it at some point. But yeah, that was a big thing. Sorry to cut you off.
No, I think those are the two things that hold it back from being really, really great. Is like when you think about Hades or Dead Cells, your runs are typically, average run is probably 12 to 15, 20 minutes. And the runs here are so long that it is very demoralizing when you die. And I feel like there is a little bit of a lack. There could be more of a progression between runs, like more carryover stats or something that kind of entices you. You're excited because like Hades, when you die, or Dead Cells, you're really excited. When you die, you're like, okay, I'm going back. You get
your upgrades.
Yeah, you get to redo everything. I never
felt bad about dying in Hades. Like,
I know.
Hades, like when you die, it's like, all right, bet I get to talk to all the people, you know what I'm saying? Like it was like
my
honestly, right? And honestly, it was never a situation where like, oh, that's unfair.
Yeah,
I always understood in this game. That's
what I'm saying. That held it back for me. If they could have recreated that feeling where every time when you're respawning back and you're starting getting out of the spaceship, if you're like pumped to start another run, but yet I do feel like there was a little bit of depression would sit in, and you'd be like, "Oh shit, here we go! God dang it!"
Like this game should have been called Metroid Dread.
Returnal Dread. So I definitely hear your criticisms, Thomas. I think there is something to the fact that the runs here are too long, and then it's too much of a blow to lose all of that progress. I think it contributes to this persistent feeling in the game that you are. And much like Dark Souls, that you are in a hostile world that wants you dead,
right?
And that doesn't want you here, right? So the adventure is overcoming that incredible obstacle. And I think, to give the devil its due, you're the devil here, Thomas, or Scrooge, like you said. Um, I think this is a first stab at something that could be incredible.
Great. Oh yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
I agree.
completely
I'm with
agree.
you 100% on that, Ben. 100%.
I'm in for a Returnal too.
They're the first ones
I'm
that
in
have.
for it.
They're the first people that have actually taken this rogue and put it into a AAA package experience with incredible gameplay. It could be extremely special, extremely.
And to
Well,
be
not,
clear,
not the first, but we're not the first. We'll get to it. We're not the only ones.
I don't think we will get a Returnal 2 just because I think the difficulty of the climb here for many was too much. So they stayed away from the game.
We'll probably get like a spiritual successor of sorts.
Maybe.
It's not as hard, but
Yeah, that's the best we can hope for, I think. But what I see in Returnal is a diamond in the rough and something that is really, for all of its faults, pushing boundaries and doing interesting new things and stumbling on the way, but not playing it safe. This game doesn't play it safe, and I have to commend it for that. Right?
That's why it's on my list to 100%.
It takes its concept and it runs with it, and it trips and it stumbles, but then it gets back up and it keeps running, much like the loop of the game. But anyway,
True.
I just want to pitch in because I also really loved Returnal. And I don't know, I did really enjoy the step on me mommy type nature of it, where it's completely unforgiving, and I really love those types of games, so I was all here for it. I think where incredible gameplay, everything you guys said. The only place where I wish they brought a little bit more of was the story. I think that it was a little bit too experimental, the story or the narrative that they tried to pull together in this story, in this game. Where this game shines, of course, is the arcade nature. There are arcade roots where the gameplay and the the actual shooting, it feels amazing. And I think they should have stayed more along lines with that and didn't try to shoehorn this pseudo story into it, because I felt when those elements did come into play, I was hoping it would be more of a PT like experience, because that's kind of what it seemed like it was trying to resemble, those first person moments. And it just didn't really do anything for me. I loved whenever I was in the action though. So great game.
Alfredo, I was upset with you, but you reeled me back in by referring to it as "step on me, mommy" gameplay. So I think.
Hey, I still got love for you. It's just that game, grinds my gears sometimes.
Oh man.
Well, unlike Metroid Dread, I don't think Returnal is going to ruin any relationships, though it may ruin a few controllers. It may have already. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to you, Alfredo. I think you're the only person who has not presented a nominee.
Sure. Yeah, so my first nominee, not in any particular order, is Kena Bridge of Spirits, which probably doesn't surprise a lot of you guys, since you know the types of games that I enjoy to play. I think that this game is a gem, for lack of any other words, really. I think that this game, it obviously shines in its art department, but it was incredibly impressed at how this is a debut indie game that's kind of backed by PlayStation, but more for marketing reasons. And I think that they knocked it out of the park. Now, a lot of people will complain about this game specifically for the controls of it. It doesn't really feel like a modern game. The controls aren't super tight. And surprisingly, it feels more like a Dark Souls game, in its combat, which I really like Dark Souls, so I appreciated it. I just see a lot of potential for this game and what the studio can do in the future, and I'm really, really excited for what they can do. Also, really enjoyed the story aspect nature, where they did kind of like a culmination of 3 different stories with an overarching story. I thought that was a really nice way to kind of wrap this first game all in one in a nice neat package. So yeah,
fair enough. I loved it too. It makes top 10, but not enough for it to be a top 5 game for me.
I mean, it's fair. The game definitely has its fair share of criticisms. It's definitely not a perfect game, but I definitely think, for me, it earns a top 3 spot in solely due to its potential and its wow factor. It just surprised me on so many different levels, and it seemed like something that was completely new. Even though we do get action adventure games of this sort, but it surprised me in a way that Ratchet and Clank didn't, because Ratchet and Clank reiterated on formula that they had already set precedent for in their previous games. And this game, I didn't know what to expect story wise or really anything character wise, and yeah, it surpassed all my expectations.
Awesome. Well, I think Kino was one of the most hotly anticipated games of this year. I still obviously have not played it, but frankly, I don't know that I will, and this will be my pushback.
I mean,
I don't want to pay lip service
never.
here.
Obviously, I think you should, but I do. Do you like Dark Souls games?
Yeah,
You
I do.
right?
I do. Yeah.
I think you should play this game.
It's like a good mix of Dark Souls and Zelda. Like
Yeah.
it's a really good mix of those two things.
Very, very great
All right.
comparison. I don't even like Zelda like that, so
Fair. I'll keep that in mind.
I'm gonna try it.
I'll keep it
don't
in
look at my
mind.
hat.
Kina has only one vote from Alfredo, so stands no chance of winning. Sorry, Kina.
So sad.
You are the weakest link.
Okay. Who's next? Cole, back to you.
Back to me. Okay. So my last game. This is my personal game of the year. It's Resident Evil 4 VR.
Wait, question. Wait, how are you in your last game?
Well, because we already
Yes,
talked about Ratchet and
Returnal.
Clank and Returnal.
Oh, okay.
Well, if you have anything to add on Ratchet, I don't know if you already
No, honestly, no. As of right now, I guess I don't want to give it away, but I don't have anything to add. I think Thomas said it best. Is like when he talked about the gap between Metroid Dread and how far it's come compared to Ratchet. I'd laid the sword down with that. I thought he did a good job defending Metroid Dread. So I'm not gonna push back on him dropping Metroid Dread to put Ratchet up. I don't think I can win on that one, so I just digress. So yeah, Resident Evil 4 VR. This is no one else's, so this will just be quick. I never played the original Resident Evil 4. Come to find out, it's one of the best Resident Evil games. And
Debatable.
well, I mean, I just did some, light
It's
googling on Resident
widely
Evil.
recognized.
Yeah.
That's the best. Yeah.
But VR wise, which I have played a lot of VR, and this is one of the top 3, I'd say 2 or 3 experiences I've had in VR. It was awesome. And the story is good. This really makes me want to play all these other PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 games in VR. It was just done really well. I mean, there's nothing, I talked about it in a past podcast. The gunplay, the loading and reloading, the inventory system, everything was just incredible. Nothing else to say. It was just great. It's not in our game of the year topic, but it was my personal game of the year, so I'll leave it at that.
I definitely have to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw if my VR unit was working, I'd be playing it too.
Yeah, it's a must play. It's a must play in VR.
Excellent. Thomas?
I'm so sad this isn't in anybody else's anything. My game of the year, because I'll save the other one because obviously that's going to be a controversial. We're going to have to argue about things. But the one that I'm going to be quick on is Halo Infinite. I don't even want to know how many hours I put into this game. Like in totality, I do not want to know. Because I've been playing this game since I like to say I was playing it in the beta in maybe September or August. And I knew then, I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be my most played game of the year. I've put in so many hours of multiplayer, formed a squad with people. This is a return to form for Halo as a franchise. And I think when Halo is doing well, gaming is better as a whole. because Halo is one of those franchises.
I like that
It's-
sentiment a lot. That's
So
beautiful.
it's the same thing I said before. I was the sentiment about Nintendo. We all wanted Nintendo to be competitive when they weren't with the Wii U, and then they came in with the Switch, and gaming's better for it. Same thing
Right.
with Halo. Same thing.
Very true.
Right. I think that Halo hasn't had a home run since Halo Reach. Halo Reach was probably the last game that I really wasn't a Halo fan before, just because I never had an Xbox. And so just the build up for me playing the older Halo games, doing co-op with my friends this past year, and then like it all accumulates into this experience with, to me, my favorite multiplayer I've ever played in any game. I love this multiplayer. And then the campaign, it's not The Last of Us, you know what I'm saying? It's not Uncharted. It's not that, but it's not trying to be that. It is just an open world. Like I said in a previous podcast, if you like Far Cry, if you like an open world shooter with great traversal, try this game out. It's free on Game Pass. The multiplayer is free to play on PC and Xbox. If you want to have a good time, try out Halo Infinite.
I feel like I let you down.
I
I-
will.
I-
I will.
I wanted to play this game, and it probably would have been in my top 5, but I just didn't.
Play the campaign, y'all. Just play the campaign.
I will critique you a little bit about that open world, because if we're gonna go tit for tat about Metroid Dread constraining you to figure stuff out, from what I've seen and from what my friends have played, Halo constrains you in certain aspects. Not a lot. but
Not at all. I never
It's-
got
it's-
lost. Never
it
got
feels,
lost.
from what I've seen, and you've even said it yourself, Far Cry, it has the copy paste level design from Far Cry. Not saying that's a bad thing. Not saying that's a bad thing, but if I'm bringing it up because Alfredo's wrong.
Let
Look,
it go.
I don't think that that's an unfair criticism per se. The difference between this and Far Cry is when you are encountering stuff in Far Cry, you're having Far Cry encounters. You're having Halo encounters with this. So
Yeah, I agree.
I will
It
also
literally
say,
feel every time you go. I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but every time
No.
when you're in an open world, like when you're in an open world, it's like you're going through a Halo level.
no,
Like, just
yeah,
back and forth and back and forth. It's, to me, that is, I don't want to say revolutionary, but it's definitely something that we haven't experienced in a Halo game before.
what I was gonna say is I agree with you strongly on the fact that traversal is so strong in Halo. From everything I've seen with people who I know who own who've played it in front of me, it is, I think, some of the most next gen traversal experiences, in the same vein as Breath of the Wild. Like, they have taken moving in a big map to a new fun extreme, and I think that definitely deserves its place at the top of the list for sure. Like, I haven't played it, but from everything I've seen, like, if I had played it, it would definitely be on my list.
Well said.
feel like that's the
It
case
has
for a
the
lot
best.
of us.
Yeah, it has the
if we
best
played it.
physics since like a Mario game. Like that's like Mario to me has probably the best physics, like in terms of moving the character around. This, how Master Chief feels in this game to me is a close second. It's just everything is just perfect. It's fine tuned. That's all I'll say. Since it's the only one on, I'm the only person that put it on the list.
Excellent. You know, it's interesting. This was a very strong year for Xbox compared to
Yeah.
recent years. Maybe it speaks to our bias that we still call this a weak year, or maybe that just speaks to how much ground Xbox still needs to cover in order to be, you know, outputting the kind of games that typically run the Game of the Year lists that Sony and Nintendo put out. But it's just, you know, interesting to note.
It is.
Yeah.
Moving
And they only
on.
had 2 games this year. That's the funny part.
Yeah, right.
But
That's
both
strong.
great
That's a
games.
strong year for Xbox.
Yeah, 2 great games.
Right.
Clamps.
All right, speaking of traversal and speaking of Mario, we're going to bring up Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, because I will combine them both, because you guys did make a good argument for it's what you're buying. It's what you're buying, so they both count. And I will say, Mario 3D World is a fun game. It is a fun game. I wouldn't say it's a good game or a groundbreaking game or anything special. It is fun. It is just a fun game. But that's how it can be said for a lot of Mario 2D side scrollers, which is what Mario 3D World ironically, is. It's Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3, but in 3D. It's nothing special, and we all know, we all experienced it in the Wii and the Wii U series of games, that they just put this game out over and over again. They put out Mario 3D World over and over again, and it felt stale.
I
It
have
felt
never
so
played any of those games. I'm ashamed to say.
well.
Mario?
The 3D World games.
You don't need to. They're so stale, and I think they're the weakest Mario games out there. The 3D Mario games are always the weakest games out there. Mario 3D World is a lot more fun. It adds a lot of fun mechanics. It adds a lot of fun challenge. But Bowser's Fury, to me, makes all of those Mario 3D World qualms go away. Because one of my issues I have with 3D platformers is that they kind of feel a little slow. They feel like, oh, there's a thing over there. I've got to walk all the way over there and do it. I got to do that thing over there. I see it. Banjo-Kazooie, Mario Sunshine, Mario 64. They all kind of feel too big and wide with their 3D world. Odyssey fixed that. Odyssey was a too good of a game to describe right now.
10
Mario
out of 10
Odyssey
don't
is,
at me.
say again?
10 out of 10 don't
10
at
out of
me.
10 game. It's such a fun game. Everything it throws at you is so smooth and fast paced, and you're loving every minute of it. Bowser's Fury makes all of those cool, challenging game level designs from 2D Mario games, including 3D World, and brings them into a 3D open world space.
They forget one thing though.
Mm.
The triple jump.
They did forget the triple jump, but
That it's
but-
sorely missing.
but you can do a weird backflip side jump.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. They did take out the triple jump because I think that would make moving around the level a little bit too easy. I would say if you did triple jump, it would make moving around each of these islands a little bit too easy. What Bowser's Fury is really just a demo. It is a demo for future Mario projects, and I think it's so clear cut in the right direction. Mario needs to go 3D fully. They can't keep. I mean, they can put out a 2D platform every once in a while, but they need to go 3D because they nailed 3D platforming with this game. Because it's so. The map is small, but it is vast when it comes to taking on each little level challenge. Because in the same way, Toad's Treasure Tracker was kind of a cute little puzzle 3D game. Every little level was small, but it had a lot of oomph to it. It had a lot of oomph to how you played it and how to solve the puzzle. Bowser's Fury, I feel, does the same thing, while also keeping all of those 2D platformer Mario challenging level designs that are just throwing stuff at you, just like idea. I love how many ideas this demo throws at you. It's a lot of fun. It is Mario, so I will say, A, Mario's the best game franchise ever, and B, Mario's the stupidest game franchise ever. So I would go either way with this game. If anyone wanted to argue it one way or the other, I'm all ears. But for me, you drinking hot sauce, Tom?
I'm coming
what
with the
I'm like.
heat. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is the worst 3D Mario game ever made.
Oh no.
What?
The rebuttal.
I enjoy every single 3D Mario game more than Bowser's Fury. I'm sorry.
But
The
Bowser's
game
Fury
that it
isn't-
comes with is leagues better than itself. It feels way worse than any other. But you know what? The only one that feels worse, the one on 3DS. That's the only one that I can say feels worse.
Sure, that one was a
But-
port. That was a
yeah.
shitty port. Yeah.
But Galaxy, Sunshine, 64, Odyssey, you name it. Like they're all just leagues better. And
Oh
to
my
me,
God.
just
I'm
the
blocking you on
direction.
Discord right now.
I'm surprised you didn't block me earlier.
No, I love you, Alf. You look at Alfredo.
I made
You're
fun
the
of
best.
Mario. But no, like I just like for me, when I saw what this is, I was excited. And when I played it, I started off liking it and then slowly realized this is a tech demo.
It
feels
is.
soulless. Like it's the only Mario game that feels like it has no soul.
It
And
feels
that kind of troubled me. Where I'm like, I don't want it to go this direction. I know they're gonna add Peach in it. I know they'll add the little stupid story. I know that, but just from the open world standpoint, and there are these timed events where Bowser just randomly just go. I'm like, I don't like this at all. And then Mario turns into a what was it in Sword and
A
Shield?
a lion.
No,
Wait,
but what's in Sword and Shield where the Giga Pokemon? Like
Gigantamax.
yeah, Mario turns into a Gigantamax Pokemon. I'm like, what is going on here?
Okay,
Like, what are we doing? Like, we turn this
Beaver
into Dragon Ball Z as well. Like,
Okay.
I've had a problem with the whole project. I'm sorry.
all right. Look,
I
I want to back Taylor up. I think
Okay.
this. I think it deserves to be in the game of the
I
year.
told you I was going with the heat. I'm sorry.
But I back him up because of the whole package, not particularly Bowser's Fury. And I do think Bowser's Fury it was a good game, and on its own, honestly, it's one of the top 5 games I've played this year. Just Bowser's Fury, but it's not the direction that I don't think it's the direction Mario needs to go. Which I feel like this is a whole nother topic that we could go off on with the direction Mario could go. But like Bowser's Fury, Mario works with the different biomes and the kingdoms and the little mini open worlds. But
No.
no. I will say I do like
I know
it.
you're
Though.
agreeing with me, but menus in video games are bad. They are. You can't stop all of the gameplay to go walk 5 minutes to the next level and then enter that level. That is bad. It's
How do you
so
change biomes
dumb.
then? You know, like in Mario, how do you change from a snow world to a desert world to
portal, I
a
don't
lava castle?
Different design,
I
you tell
wish
us.
I wish 3D Mario games were just seamless. You went from one to the next, like Bowser's Fury indicates they are willing to go in that direction in the future. I don't like how you have to go to that hub world in Odyssey. It's the worst part. You have to sit there on the boat with the hat, and you're like, "It's me, I'm Mario. I'm a hat." I don't like that.
You see the little the hat flying in the air. Who doesn't like that? You hate that?
I don't hate that, but I think that
He gives you the tips. You know.
You want to go through a Mario level fast. So the argument I want to make to both you, Thomas, who disagrees with me and is wrong, and to you, to you, Cole, who is right in agreeing with me, I want to make the argument that what Bowser's Fury does for the games is it takes the 2D elements of level design, the 2D elements of level design, and slaps them in the 3D space.
Well,
and gives you this open world to explore them in. And I think that is fun. I think that's a creative way of taking what?
Oh, so I was going to say, so I think Mario 3D World does that better than the open world because it's little confined worlds. Takes the 2D, the 2D platforming and puts it into that little 4-minute 3D world. As opposed to the open world, that's just
Thomas, you're agreeing with the wrong things, but disagreeing with the right things.
I'll end it on this, Taylor. I will say I would move it up. I would move it up to the Game of the Year discussion, but I don't think we have a shot at winning that. I mean, I wouldn't even argue that for Game of the Year, so I don't think it's worth moving up.
I get you,
but I did like it, and it's in my conversation. It deserves. It had its time to shine.
So
I said my
should buy
piece.
this game? Question mark.
No, yeah, it's
Did
worth
I buy
buying
my
for sure.
heat up for the camera? No, I didn't. Don't buy this game.
No, it's worth playing. It's absolutely worth. If you're a Mario Nintendo fan, I think it's worth playing.
Just
Yeah, I
play
agree.
one of the older
Got it.
Mario games. Just
I'm
play
not a fan.
Sunshine. You know?
It's
No,
better than Sunshine.
no,
It's better
no,
than
I-
Sunshine.
No,
You
it's
missed
not better.
the point.
It's not better than Sunshine.
Okay.
I'll go to the grave with that one. Oh man,
Bowser's Fury
that's
gets
a
the
day for
nod.
another day.
Bowser Fury,
Fury
yeah.
gets the nod, but it does not win the prize. Alfredo,
Yes.
you and I have something to discuss here,
Oh, do we?
and it's the best Nintendo game that came out this year.
Hmm.
A little game called It Takes Two.
Oh, I was
Now,
like,
the
what?
reason
I don't
the
like
reason I
Nintendo
call this
like
the
that.
best Nintendo game that came out this year is because this is Nintendo design through and through. In fact, this is Mario design through and through.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
take a little new mechanic, you run it through the ringer for a level or two, and then you toss it away, and you get a new one the next level.
It takes two to make a thing go
Incredible.
right.
I have not finished this game. It's the other game on my list that I have not finished, but incredible variety in this game. What do you think, Alfredo?
I completely agree. This It Takes Two is my game of the year. It was a close race, but this game, I I talked about how special it felt to me when I first played this game. I talked about how it took me back to when I first discovered Toy Story on my PS1, how it felt like you were just this little toy in a huge playground, in a huge sandbox. But not only does do that, but it feels like everything in this game is so innovative. Like you're saying, Ben, everything, all of the gimmicky and mechanics that it throws you in every single situation, all the different levels that it throws you in, it'll give you specific tools and expect you to use it in various ways, in very different ways, in gimmicky ways, you might say. But the key thing that this game does that it's so special is that you feel like it's not, you never dwell on one specific thing too much. You you might be doing something for 20-ish minutes, let's say, like a specific level, and then it passes on to the next thing. You're on to the next gimmick per se.
it never wears out its welcome. The
Exactly.
gimmicks come and then they go, and it's like always just the perfect amount of time where they're like about to get annoying, but they don't
Right.
quite clear.
And then
the
it
hill
moves
of
on.
annoying. Yeah.
Immediately, and I love the game for it. The only place where I could critique this game and say, okay, you guys got to improve on this, is probably the story. The story isn't the best, especially when it tries to, tie it into the overarching story. The story is the best when it focuses on the couple itself, the two main protagonists that you're playing as. That's when it's best. The bickering and how you have to work together to solve things, and how that ties specifically into the actual gameplay of you really, really having to communicate with your partner or your co-op partner and saying, okay, you need to do this, and then I can do this, and you guys just figuring out, oh, I can do this. You have these like little light bulb moments. Oh, we can combine these two different gimmicks and create a new thing. Like, the game constantly surprised me every single turn. I was always like, wow, like this is really cool. Wow, this is amazing. Wow, this is innovative. The way that they're trying to make this very, very unique co-op experience that I can definitely say I have never experienced before.
Yeah.
It's just, it floored me.
This may be obvious, but I don't know. So It Takes Two. It's about, isn't it about a couple that's like on the brink of divorce?
Yeah.
And the whole commentary is it takes two,
To make a thing go right. like
to
the
make a
song.
thing go right.
That's right.
That's the only reason why, because that's the first trailer, and that immediately hooked me. I was like,
And what's cool is
makes
that
sense.
the story is married to the gameplay. Like, married, another term for
Hey.
but yeah.
Hey, wordplay.
But like, it really, I didn't play this game and I really hate it, and I didn't. It's because I had no one to play it with.
You hate
But no,
He hates that he didn't play.
I hate that I didn't play it.
I was like, dang.
No, but I think that if I had have played this with someone, and playing with someone else makes a game inherently more special, I think, when you can play any game in multiplayer. To me, this game seems really special. Like, this game seems like this could be our game of the year.
I would definitely agree with everything you just said, Cole, and everything that both you all said as well, because it's not my game of the year, but I had a really fun time playing this game. I would say the weakest aspect for me was the actual mechanics, and it made me wish, and this is an accomplishment to the game, mind you, but I wish Nintendo actually made this game. Because I feel like the controls and the physics just weren't as tight as they needed to be. As compared to where, the polish, even something like Bowser's Fury, I was just raging on. There's a polish to that game's mechanics that I just don't think that this game has, just from a movement standpoint.
I think the mechanics are passable. They are fine. They are good for this game.
That's
'cause
how it's
you got
come
you're playing as two players. The weak link for me is the story. Actually, I think
Me
it's
too.
so stupid. I think it's Hallmark Channel level of like drama and soap. It's like,
That's
oh,
very true.
I didn't like the
I-
message of it either. I would definitely say the message of it, I'm like, that's not.
I don't think it had a message though. I
What was
don't
the
think
message?
it
Kinda
really
tried,
wanted
The
he
it.
kind
message-
of tried
It
to,
takes
and I was
two.
like, that's real generic. Like
No,
that's
I mean,
super
okay.
generic.
Just, me and my girlfriend played this a little bit, and like the female character was like such a bitch, and the male character was the dumbest idiot who ever
It's just
lived on the face of the planet. Like,
Archetypes.
but they're like so overwhelmingly those archetypes. They are Marge and Homer Simpson to
Yes.
like the furthest extreme you could
Damn,
go.
don't say that.
For me, that
Oh,
lended
man.
to its charm, though,
me,
because
that-
I felt like the game was aware of what it was. It's not trying to be this AAA experience because it's not a AAA experience. This is a AA experience. Actually, this isn't something published by Sony, Nintendo, Xbox. This is
Well,
like
EA.
a part of EA Play, like EA Originals. Like this is technically not an indie game. It's published by EA, but it's not a AAA game, so you're not going to get that AAA level of polish. But you see what there's just so much love and care for this game specifically, and I feel like everything that they did, they just mashed it so well for so little budget, and they didn't have all of the big things behind it, but it still felt like such a unique and special experience. And I think because of that, I can honestly say I've never
Wait,
had anything like this
Wait,
game before.
you're saying this was an EA release?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So you're in the game.
You're in the game, indeed.
Oh my god, I didn't know that. EA
changes everything, right?
Yeah.
in the
that's right.
game.
It's a jack of all trades, master in none affair for me. Where it's
Yeah.
a very solid experience, but
Yeah.
it's not world renowned. It's not iconic. It's not like if it's game of the year for us, I'm fine with that. But it's, to me, like, that's just showing that, proving the point that it was a remarkable year, which I don't agree with. But this game, for it to win game of the year, kind of highlights that there was no definitive gangbuster game this year.
I like the phrasing you used. It's to me like, if you remember when that fish fucking movie won the Oscars, it was like
Yeah.
the lady in the water or something.
Oh,
Shape of Water.
Shape of
Well,
Water.
Damn, I like that movie. Don't call it that. Don't call
it's a-
it that.
It's a fine movie, but
Oh,
everything
man.
about it is
You take
annoying and
water?
stupid. It is an effective, well made, perfectly scripted movie. It's just like, god damn, I hate that movie. You know,
it's not just
that's
fish
sort of what
fucking,
this.
you know.
You know, to me, the characters in that movie are stupid, and I hate the fact that she sleeps with a fish, and it's stupid and it's dumb.
Romantic.
It's an effective movie. It does its thing.
It's in the tub,
But, like,
you know?
I
don't they flood the room?
I've never seen the movie.
It's a dumb movie.
Back to
Yeah.
It Takes Two. I get what you're saying, Thomas, about it being jack of all trades, master of none. I'm going to give this game the same praise that I gave Returnal, in that it's doing something different that the competition is not doing. It's carving out a new space. It's carving out a new type of game. It's doing it with excellence. It stumbles in some ways. I think, namely, I take the criticism about the story. Like, I totally agree that these characters are broadly drawn. They're silly, most of all. They're silly, which is why I excuse it, because it seems to be like the whole thing is just lighthearted, and it's not, it cuts deep in some ways, but it's not meant to be Shakespeare.
Yeah. Can we all agree, though? Can we all agree that the one thing this game does better than anything else, and that needs to be in every game, and is the reason it probably deserves its place at the Game of the Year awards, and #1 game of all time? Couch co-op.
Yes.
Couch co-op.
Exactly.
Give us couch co-op, please.
Halo didn't even get that.
Yeah.
This year.
Yep.
That's the
I-
game.
I-
That's the couch co-op game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And there
That's a
are
fair
others
point.
that are that are kind of recognizing the lack of couch co-op and trying to capitalize on that. I think Overcooked is another where it's like you guys you knocked it out of the park with a good couch co-op experience, and which is an underserved market, I think.
For sure.
But there's nothing else like It Takes Two and before it, A Way Out,
Mhm.
which I think was, much less experimental in terms of game mechanics, but I think maybe even more gutsy because it did try to take itself more seriously.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
But
it was a
I
good
think
game, but this
it
is
was,
leaps and
yeah.
bounds.
Yes. It Takes Two strikes a much better overall tenor. I think it's got tons of interesting, not gameplay depth, but gameplay breadth across its runtime. It's got interesting locales. It's got pretty dang good art considering this is not, a AAA game.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's got a story that, even though it is silly and not always effective with somewhat thin characters, it I'm impressed with it because it takes its time. Halfway through this game, I thought the game was going to be over,
Same.
and they had hardly grown, and they had hardly come closer, and I was like, okay, here's the time for this thing to land with a big wet thud when they somehow reconcile, and it's like, where the hell did that come from? But no, I realized, like I still got a whole, whatever it is, 4 to 8 hours left of game here that I got to play. So that's something that I really appreciate about the story, that it's willing to pace out this reconciliation. Or, I haven't beaten it, so who knows what's going to happen? Do they go back together or not? They pace out this growth over a good long chunk of time, and they have the gameplay variety to back that time up.
All fair
Well
points.
said.
Cool. Well, I don't think It Takes Two can be our game of the year, right? Because it's only got 2 votes, unless we rejigger some things.
I mean,
Special
everything
votes.
has 2 votes, right?
Yeah, so it's going to
Pretty
come
much.
down to a discussion between the
So
best
the only
one.
thing that has the possibility, this is interesting. The only thing that has the possibility of 3 votes is Deathloop. Thomas, you're the only one with it on your actual list. Do you want to take away the conversation?
Okay, so Deathloop, like you, Taylor, saying that Metroid Dread was one of your first, like one of the first games, not first game, but one of the first games in a while that you got through in a week. I got through Deathloop in like 4 days. I was addicted. This is all I played. I'm not a Arcane fan. I've tried Prey, I tried Dishonored. Not that I hate those games. I respect those games, but they just didn't speak to me. But when you combine a James Bond, like old school Sean Connery, James Bond style, with, to me, one of the best protagonists in a video game, as far as I can, like, maybe I can't think of the last time where a protagonist entertained me throughout the entire experience, where not a line of dialogue was wasted, where the antagonist is talking to me literally every time I start a level, and they're having a back and forth affair that, to me, I'm not tuning out at all. And that's before I even start the mission. And it's not an open world game. It's not a big world to begin with, but it's a kind of an open level game where you can kind of figure out what you want to do. What do you want to accomplish on this run? It, to me, is the perfection of AAA roguelike. It's what I wanted Returnal to be. If it's going to be a roguelike, I don't think a roguelike fits 100% into a 3D anything. I think roguelikes are better served being something like Hades, where it's like isometrical, or like Dead Cells, where it's, just flat. I think it works better in that setting. If you're going to do a roguelike game, it needs to have something different. I think Deathloop captures that because it's not a roguelike, but it has enough of those elements mixed with, to me, a good story until you get to the end, where the end is very divisive. I know, Alfredo, you didn't like the end, but I got it. It wasn't like world beating, but it was fine. I enjoyed the journey as opposed to the destination. And I just thought that it was different enough, and there's not ever going to be a game like Deathloop. I don't think any game can really kind of take this as a inspiration per se. It's so unique and so different that if Halo didn't come out, this would be my game of the year for sure. I don't think there was an experience like this. Also multiplayer, it has one of the most creative uses of multiplayer I've seen in the game as well. So I give it high marks. I get your criticisms of it per se, and I definitely respect Ben a lot because Ben comes from playing those arcane games and he has direct criticism comparing it to those other games. I definitely respect that. But from somebody who didn't really play those games, this game gave me everything I wanted.
Yeah, let me dig into my criticisms a little bit more here because I didn't address them when I first brought it up. Um, they are there's a plethora of them. For one, the story I feel like it did not come together in the end in a strange way because I finished the story and I was like, okay, what was this whole thing? This was a game that that would sink or swim on its background story detail, much the same way that BioShock does, or many immersive sims do, where it's about the setting and the characters in that setting. There is a main character, and there is a secondary main character, and their story is important, but their story is intrinsically tied to the place, right? So the place is the ultimate driver of the story. And I was reading all the notes as I got them. I wasn't going out of my way to find little story tidbits, but I found plenty of them. I had no cohesive understanding of what the hell happened here. What was the point? What was I after? Sure, these characters have this interesting connection with one another, but how did this happen? None of that came together. The dominoes did not fall in a proper sequence, right?
They're
So
there in lore, like they're there. Like if you look for like some of the stuff in the game, they're there. But I agree with you. You shouldn't have to do that. Like
No.
I don't like that idea of doing that per se.
Yeah, that's Skyrim world building. That's not good
yeah.
world
So I get that's a very fair criticism.
I don't mind you. Look, I don't mind having lots of interesting stuff in
but not crucial
missable
stuff.
content. Yes, right. But not crucial stuff. Stuff that is like important to your basic orientation in the world and understanding what your motivation is, especially when you're playing a voiced character who is separate from you, and your motivation from the character. Your motivation might be different from the character's motivation, right? You have to understand the character's motivation clearly enough that you can relate to it and integrate it into your own experience, your own play experience. Right. I couldn't do it. All I knew was that Colt needed to break this fucking loop because he kept saying he needed to break the fucking loop. That's all I knew
verbatim,
about him, really. Right.
That goddamn Cole. Oh, that Cole.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Everything that you said, Ben. I'm typically somebody who does not like if the lore is packaged in notes that I have to go out and scout. I'm not about that life. But I will say the lore that was available on the journey, on the set path that we were going, maybe not set path because this game does give you a lot of variety, but the lore that was available there, I was reading the notes. I never do that. It was interesting enough that I was going, quote unquote, out of my way to read the papers and see, okay, what's exactly happening in this world, because it was intriguing. But at the same time, like Ben is saying, I didn't go super out of my way that I was finding all of the lore. So I had the same issues where I was like, okay, what exactly happened here? What's the full backstory? Because I don't know. I would have to literally look this up. Another critique that I have of the game, and I talked a little bit about this with you, Thomas, before, but the ending, I felt like I loved this game because of the journey that it took you on, exactly what you said, but the ending just did not stick at all. And I feel like the way that they decided to resolve the story was very weak. And
it was safe.
Can I jump in on Thomas's defense?
Yeah.
I like how Deathloop does do a sort of James Bondy thing, and James Bond movies don't usually have that satisfying of an ending. I think thematically, the silly, goofy nature of the story works, and mechanically, I think it works well with the looping. I think arguing story bits about this game is a little counterintuitive, because I think it works for the nonsense and new game we have. We have a new game. We have Deathloop. It's a cool game that I think will last for a while.
And I would argue that it has the best story of any game we've said today, besides Life is Strange.
I gotta think about this. Well, what I will say is that I think the ending was so much of it. It took a game that was probably, when I was playing it, probably like a 9 down to like a 7, maybe 8. And it was like that because the game built itself up to be okay. This isn't a spoiler because you're supposed to take out all of the visionaries. That's what you're doing to complete the game. And without doing any spoilers is kind of hard, but you build up to this climactic moment that never really happens, if that makes sense. I can't really go into spoilers, but the game builds itself up. Okay, you're taking out these people, and then when you get to the last one that you're supposed to take out, it just is extremely non-existent, for lack of a better word. And it really left a sour taste in my mouth.
Well, that has to do with how the game is structured in terms of how you're doing the runs. Because for me, it did, like, when I knew, oh, I have everything I need to do my final run, it did feel like a mission, like it was the final mission. Like it had that feeling of I know exactly where I need to go to beat this game. And it did kind of feel like a final mission thing. Also, I disagree because I feel like, while yes, there are a lot of stuff buried in the lore, I completely agree with that. But I do think for the most part it makes sense, because once you get to the twist, which I won't say, like the twist kind of puts everything in perspective. Like once you get to the part where the whole narrative kind of flips and your understanding of the situation kind of changes, to me, that's and I was very close at that point to being on my last run.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, I'm just like, okay, this kind of clicked for me. And while I don't like where we ended 100%, like that whole ramp up from the twist to the end, that was solid to me. It just, at the end, I do agree with you that I was like, wish there was a little more here. Like I could have done a little more, but I liked overall.
Like my last critique on the story, just to address something that Taylor and Thomas, that you both said, is that while this story is probably the best story on my list of Game of the Year nods, it was the game that most needed its story to be good. It's
not BioShock for sure.
That most needed its story to buoy it, and whereas Returnal didn't need it. I mean, the story in Returnal was gravy. It was nice extra, in my opinion. Although I haven't finished it. Deathloop needs the story. It's most carried by the story of any of the games on our list, I think.
And they have strong characters as well. Like they have it there. They just weren't able to wrap it up in a way that you didn't have to go looking for all this extra material to get the story that we wanted.
Right. My other major criticism of the game writ large is the delta between what the game was seemingly advertised as and what the game ultimately ended up being. And this is speculation, but I can only surmise that the difference there is due to a development dead end, where they were staring down the barrel of way too many variables to have to juggle for a way too complex game. And they ultimately decided that we can't do what we want to do, which is this idea that you can go anywhere, any time of day, take down the visionaries in any order, and it's up to you to determine how you're going to do that. That's like the Hitman design philosophy, and we'll talk about Hitman later.
Yeah.
But Deathloop seems to promise that from the jump. It makes lots of, even in the game itself. So it's not just marketing, right? It's in the UI that's trying to explain to you what the point of the game is at the very beginning, which it just smacks you with over and over again at the beginning of the game, because it's like it's giving you this sense that this game is a lot more complicated than it actually is.
That's fair.
When it's really not. It's
not complicated at all.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the game is about figuring out the proper intended sequence of levels to do a full run through of the game.
You could beat the game in like 20 minutes.
I've
I've seen somebody do that.
Yeah.
The figuring out part is not done by you. It's done by the game, and it's given to you in the form of these quests that tell you where to go and when to go so that you can set up all the dominoes and watch them all fall at the end of the game in your final run. That is the Achilles heel to this game to me. The fact they can't even trust you to set up the dominoes.
I'd like to throw in a little bit about gameplay, because we talked a lot about the story, and now you're bringing in some gameplay talk. Because I did mention Skyrim level building. I like Skyrim because of how glitchy and silly and bad it is, and I think Deathloop has some similar fun to it, where it is broken in a lot of areas. A lot of things don't work. A lot of techniques you can do to take down bad guys are kind of silly and not fully fleshed out, because it's not BioShock, but it's funny. It's a funny game. It's a funny game, kind of like with Deltarune and Psychonauts 2. It's got some real levity to it. And I like it for that, and that comes through less in storytelling, even though obviously Cole is funny and he's always quipping, and I think he's quite charming, but gameplay wise, it's not you, Cole. No, I'd never say that about you. But I think gameplay wise, it's broken and silly, and it's not on my list because I don't own a PS5 and I didn't play it. But I did play it at a friend's house. I don't count that because I didn't really put hours into it. But from what I played, I had a good goofy time. And I think that's worth something. I think the game has a lot going for it, but also a lot going against it. It definitely wouldn't be game of the year. I don't think it could be game of the year. But I think gameplay wise, it's got enough going for it that I don't know about this it tells you what to do sort of thing. But I think in each level, you're given some freedom to do stupid stuff, which is what I liked about Skyrim. Is you could kind of cheat the game. You could cheese it, and I like that.
I think, and just my last thing before we move on, but I think the criticism you all have given against the game is super valid. Like I don't really disagree with anything, but it kind of is similar to me to The Last of Us Part 2 from last year, where for me, I give that game high marks, but I give that story like a 7 out of 10. And I don't like a lot of aspects of the story. But it's like how I look at it as how much fun did I have with this game? Like what was the moment to moment enjoyment that I was getting? Like when I look back at it, yeah, I can kind of think about some of the things you said, but I can't take away when I was playing the game moment to moment, going through these levels, trying to before I realize how easy it is, like you said, Ben, because there is a point in time where once you're like, oh, it is like kind of on rails a little bit. Like you kind of do understand that at a certain point, but before that, I'm just having a lot of fun playing this game. I think the gunplay, we didn't really talk. It's a game. We didn't really talk about the gameplay. Like the gunplay to me is very satisfactory, and I think the powers are amazing to me. Like the powers are incredible. Like it's what I wanted. Like is what I imagine what a modern BioShock is going to be like in terms of powers.
Hopefully, a modern BioShock is better.
Oh, it will be for sure.
Hopefully, yeah.
But yeah, from a power standpoint, like as far as like I don't know a game that has better shooting / power combat as opposed to this.
Which powers did you get a lot of use out of, Thomas?
Oh, teleporting.
Mm-hmm.
That was because, and that's the other thing. Like when you go on these runs, like the powers kind of dictate what kind of run you're going to go on. So if you're trying to just get, like if you're doing Alexis's Palace, for example, like you probably don't want to do a full-on assault on the castle. You need to kind of sneak in. So you kind of pick your powers accordingly. And that's where I mean an open level format where you kind of pick and choose what you're going to go in your loadout, what gun you're going to use, what powers you're going to use. I had a lot of fun just doing that, and it just gave me a lot of options that I didn't know the game was going to allow me to have. Now, obviously, the actual story experience is a little more on rails than I thought it was going to be, but I got a lot of enjoyment just out of the flexibility you had. Like, if you want to go on a stealth run, pick your stealth loadout. If you
Well,
want to
let me
go on a
ask you a
balls to the
question.
wall assault, good.
Did you, once you had shift, did you really unequip it ever?
Yeah, I use the invisibility a lot. Yeah, I use like I would go around and use them depending on what I was doing.
I definitely
Shift,
did
I
not
use
do
shift the
that.
most.
Can I bring up the
And
looping
see,
mechanic?
that to me is like a big part of the game to me. Like being able to switch around and accomplish different things, like
Right.
that switching around really did give me a lot of enjoyment. Shift is
Yeah,
probably my most used for sure, but I used a lot of them.
isn't that the most video game mechanic that could ever be?
Teleportation.
Well,
No,
it's, I
looping.
mean,
Yeah,
I was going to say,
looping.
I mean, shift is ripped straight out of Dishonored.
Dishonored.
It's
Yeah.
it's just the blink ability.
But-
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry for looping. What were we saying about looping too?
Oh no, I'm just saying it's the most gaming mechanic that ever could be.
Well, I mean,
Um,
this year was filled with time loop
We got
games.
12 minutes.
Time loop
And
everything.
what was that
Yeah.
dungeon one? The crawling one. That one was fun on Steam.
Loop here.
Loop Hero. God, that
Loop
was a good
Hero.
There
game.
was Forgotten City and Returnal, of course.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, wow.
This is a time.
So-
loop.
Ratchet and Clank.
You know what? You're right. There were a lot. So yeah, and Ratchet and Clank. So you know what? It's not even that special. It's not even that special.
Well, that to me is the least. And like that part's fine.
But it's
Like,
in the
that
name. But it's
aspect
in the
is
name.
fine. Yeah, that part's fine.
So
To
I think
me,
Ben's right saying like it didn't deliver what was on the package.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I agree.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Well, Alfredo, there's another game that won't win Game of the Year.
So sad. But
But,
I
well,
like
please shout
that
it
these
out.
games are getting some representation.
Alfredo,
Um,
this might have been my number one if I had played it all the way. I just
I
can't.
haven't-
I can't do it with 20 hours in.
Yeah, I have 15 right now. But my game is Shin Megami Tensei 5, a game series that I've never played. I have played Persona 5, that's it, which is like a spin-off. But Thomas convinced me to get this game, kind of, because he was like, you might like, you might not. But what sold me on it was that he said it was really challenging. Like I said, love to be being stepped on. So I was like, it's a JRPG and it's really like tough. It signed me up. So I was able to get it for Christmas. Thanks, Mom, for buying it for me. She didn't know what it was. But I got it for Christmas, and my eyes have been glued to the Switch screen any time I have extra time, any single time.
So this is a real newcomer because Christmas was only a couple days ago.
Exactly. I have 15 or 16, maybe 17 hours on it right now. I play it like whenever I get the chance. And I didn't think I would love this game that much because it's a game that prides itself on constantly switching out your party members. And the way that this game works is that you have demons that you're using for your party members. And it's
Think of them like Pokemon.
Yes, it's very, very Pokemon, which I don't like, but it's more Yu-Gi-Oh! Because the thing is, for this game to succeed, you have to be able to fuse monsters and create new monsters and be okay with trading out your starter Pokemon, your starter demons, to gain a stronger demon so that you can actually stand a chance in this world and in this game. And I really didn't think I would like the fact that I would have to throw away, oh, this demon is my favorite and replace it for another one. But I continually finding myself being so invested in the loop of, okay, this is my team. These are the specific skills that I need. So this is my team for this area. Okay, I confuse to make this new monster who looks so rad as hell. I want to make this. Okay, how can I do? I got to catch this monster and this monster to make this. And then you make a new monster and gain all these different stats. I really love how it forces you to do that and how seamless it makes the whole process. And I really also like how smart the battle system is. The battle system is, to simplify it, a bit is it basically forces you to have different types for your moves, and different things have weaknesses and affinities for that. And I won't go into details, but basically it forces you to constantly switch out your protagonist as well as your demons loadouts, like the different moves that they can do, because certain enemies will be strong and weak to different bosses basically. So I really like how smart it is and how it forces you to continually change your strategies, and it rewards you for doing so. And I like being stepped on, so I love this game because you might lose 30 minutes of progress, but I, I just am like, okay, let's go again because I made a stupid mistake, or maybe I didn't, and they just crit on me 5 times. You never really know, but I really love this game, and I think I will start probably buying all of the other previous 4 entries because of it.
Just to piggyback really quick, because you didn't really talk about the story so much.
Yes,
So
that is
I
the weak point.
Yeah, I have played a little bit of the previous Shin Megami Tensei games, and they always were just too dark for me. I think this one strikes a really good balance, and I think that this Atlas has learned their lesson from the Persona series in that there needs to be a balance between how dark this game can get and also the side characters and the setting. So there's kind of a school setting there as well. And I think that part is very important. I think that it's a very dark story in terms of you are, it's weighing godliness, and it's how important are gods? What are gods? And I'm like, that's a very crazy question to ask the gamer. Like it's very heavy subject matter, and you feel the weight of it. But I think, and they've done that with the other Shin Megami Tensei games. This one has a lot of levity that I think it works to its benefit, where it doesn't feel like such a drag. And I
Mhm.
think that they've struck a really good balance with this one. This might have been my game of the year if I had played more of it. I'm still gonna play it. I'm having a great time playing it, like Alfredo is.
One more quick thing about it. I also really like how in Persona 5 it prides itself in having, that social aspect as well as the, battling dungeon aspect. And this game is firmly just choosing not to do that whole
Yeah, it said
social
fuck that. It
aspect.
said fuck
Yeah,
socials.
you don't have to grind your relationships. You don't have to do all of the running around towns and all of that. No, it streamlines it and says, this is a classic JRPG, and we are just gonna be, you're gonna be a badass in this world, and that's what this game is. And I really like that. I guess before this game, I didn't realize how much I didn't like the social aspects of Persona, I guess. And this has kind of opened my eyes to it. But yeah, I can't say enough praises about this game. I love it so much.
If Persona is an extrovert, Shin Megami Tensei is an introvert, and I love
Which
it for
makes
it.
sense.
Excellent. Well, thank you for bringing in Shin Megami Tensei into the conversation. We've got one more game to talk about. I did not mean to save this one for last, but I'm not sad that it is the last game. Clems, you want to take this away?
Hitman 3, the
Threats.
game of the year.
Hands down. All right. See ya,
Hands down.
everybody. Good night.
That's all we
Good
got
night.
for
Have a
you.
great night. No, Hitman 3 is it's fantastic. It's everything we've talked about wanting in each of these games tonight, I think. And I do love my Metro Dreads and whatever, who cares? Who wants to discuss that? But Hitman 3 gives you such unlimited freedom to do whatever you want. You're given a task and you do it however you want. It's also a game that has the most incredible settings and the most incredible experiences in such quick succession. 1 minute you're in the Burj Khalifa, the next minute you're in some shady castle, the next minute you're in the suburbs. It's just all over the place, and it's fun each time you play it. And each time you play it, you can experience it a different way. It's not a game that you have to go in stealth mode or aggressive. It's just what you want. And the AI in the game makes it so that it's always a unique experience. I truly recommend Hitman 3 to everyone who likes playing fun games.
Yeah, I've sung the praises of Hitman 3 many times, and I'll always talk up these games because I feel like they don't get talked about enough. And IO Interactive has been really just the only game in town in terms of stealth games recently,
Yeah.
which is a bizarre thing to think about. Splinter Cell is not here, Metal Gear Solid is not here, many of the other Thief is not here in any particular capacity.
Right.
So Hitman 3 is like just owning the zone, and yet Hitman 3 is Hitman this World of Assassination trilogy ever since Hitman 2016 is not some grab bag of stealth genre stuff. It's its own game. It's its own experience that no other stealth game is going to give you. No other stealth game gives you what Hitman gives you. This idea of social stealth, dressing up in other people's costumes and then walking among them. This idea of like speaking with your target before you kill them. This idea of almost anything's a weapon. You pick up your tools as you go.
Would you almost call it RPG stealth?
Yeah,
Because you do role play. You do actually role play in the game.
Right. In fact, 47 role plays, which is what's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
It's like you're controlling 47, and then 47's playing an RPG. Should you so choose?
Kind of like it seems like The Witcher 3, because that's kind of what The Witcher 3 is, where you're playing as Geralt, and Geralt's doing what you say.
Yeah, well, so I mean, a lot of the third-person games follow that model in the main, but what makes Hitman different is that Agent 47 is like a master of disguise, even though it's comical because he's always got the barcode on the back of his head, and he's like
covered up with the chef's hat.
Some
he's
bald white guy,
He's this jacked, bald white dude in China, and nobody's like batting an eye that this
janitor,
jacked,
nothing to
bald
see.
white dude
He
with a
always seems
barcode
to
on the back
blend
of his
in.
head. Yeah. So yeah, there's a comical element to it, and I don't want to oversell it. I mean, Hitman's got plenty of rough edges. One of these things that's like, this may bother a lot of people, where the animations in Hitman are very economical. You walk up to a costume and you put the costume on, and 47 goes like this, and then the costume's just on him, and he's fully dressed. There's lots of like corners cut, but when the corners are cut, it's for the sake of playability in the game. It's for the sake of interesting dynamics. It's for the sake of reproducibility and predictability, which is an incredibly important thing when you're looking at this massive puzzle box space, which is what each of these levels are. They're huge mini open worlds that allow you free reign to assassinate certain targets in any way that you can manage. You're not going to be able to manage every single way, but anything that you can find a way to do is available.
It's feasible. You can figure it out. Yeah.
And there's levels of challenge, right? When you first go into a mission, play the story missions. The story missions are going to act as guided experiences that get you familiar with the levels. They're going to immerse you more in the world. They're going to get you to help you get to know the characters a little bit, the people that you're going to eventually kill. Once you're done with those story missions, you'll have a good enough understanding of the maps that you can try to go in and get creative. Once you get creative a few times, you can try to challenge yourself. Do Silent Assassin, do Silent Assassin suit only, Sniper Assassin. Like, there's tons of different ways you can go about all of these things, and many of them are rewarded.
Yeah, you boil it all down, and it becomes Donkey Kong, right? No. What I mean about that is you boil all the mechanics of the game down, all the AI, all the things you can do. When you're playing Donkey Kong, you're going through, and there's usually like tiny little branching paths, like you get a fork that's two ways you get to go, and you can observe your enemies, and you can choose which way you want to go based on how they act, and you restart the level. In Hitman, you really have to pay attention to everyone, and everyone's patterns can be augmented in some way that gets you to your goal, and I really like that. You can find a butler, and you can poison a drink the butler's drinking, and he'll give it to the target that you're trying to assassinate. Or you can just run in, distract the butler, or kill him, and just shoot the guy. And there's like not 100, but there's plenty of different avenues to get to assassination at the end, and it really does. You are indeed the husk that is Agent 47. You have to fill those shoes and figure out the puzzle. Yeah, puzzle box a great way to describe these games, because they're really immersive puzzle boxes.
Ugh, I wish I played this, but I will definitely buy it.
Yeah, see,
That's for sure.
this is the heartbreaking thing. It's like no one thinks to look twice at Hitman until you.
I blame the movie. I blame there was
I love
they
that
made a
movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
I saw it in theaters. I love that
It's
movie.
passable, but once a video game makes a movie and that movie flops, it kind of stains the whole franchise.
That's how it's Assassin's
Sonic's making a
Creed.
comeback.
But Sonic's doing a good. See, Sonic's games are bad, but its movies are good. That's the
Assassin's
problem.
Creed was bad. That was a bad one movie.
So
Well,
Y'all
anyway,
convinced me. I'm buying it right now.
you
yeah,
should.
good.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm buying it right
100%.
now.
That was Hitman 3. I just got to say, the icing on the cake is the fact that you can play all of the levels from the previous two games in this game if you own those
Yeah.
games.
And they're great levels.
And yeah, they're great. And if you have a next-gen console, they have all the enhancements, and they have all of the new mechanics from Hitman 3 applied to those levels,
That's so cool.
which is amazing. No, who else does this?
That's revolutionary.
Plus, all of that shit is available in VR.
Yeah, and you know
Which is
what? Ben's right. Ben's right. No one talks about this game enough. Like, these games are truly fun, truly cool. You feel like a badass while doing them. They're thought provoking. They are engaging. They are everything you want in a game. They really are everything you want in a game, but no one plays them. It's a shame.
It sounds like it's so underrated because even me, it sounds like something that's so up my alley, but I'm just always like, I'll get till later. Like I guess just because it doesn't have that iconic status to it, or no one is saying that this is a masterpiece. You have to say
It should.
But people
It
are
should.
saying you should play this game.
I think a lot of the trouble I think came with Hitman 2016, where that was the time to get everyone's attention, because
was
Hitman 2
episodic,
and
right?
3 are iterative sequels. They're not breaking down
Yeah.
the
It's
foundation.
not
and
Uncharted
rebuilding.
1 to 2.
No. I mean, it's like it's iterating on the incredible foundation that Hitman 2016 laid. But that launch of Hitman 2016 was so mired in confusion and controversy because there was an episodic model attached to the thing. That a lot of people
bad
wrote it
PR.
off.
Bad PR has ruined these
Yeah.
games.
Let me ask you this: is there a leap between Hitman 2 and Hitman 3?
What do you mean?
Just a leap in the experience. Like, for Game of the Year's sake, I feel like this should be. I know it's the best probably version of Hitman, but does it do much different than the previous
You know
Hitmans
what?
have done?
You know what? I'm gonna jump in real quick. I don't think so. I think all the Hitmans are good in their own right, and I think they all deserve their spot as Game of the Year. It doesn't do anything extremely different than the other Hitmans. That's why you can slip into the old ones in this game, and it doesn't feel jarring because it is the same formula. But it's not really the mechanics or the gameplay that are the main centerpiece of it. As Ben was saying, it's the fact that they're a puzzle box. It's the levels.
Yes.
It's the
fact that there's
levels.
5 new levels means that it's a totally new experience, because the levels are the levels are the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're selling me. To me, emergent gameplay is one of my favorite things in games. That's why I like Grand Theft Auto so much. So, like, I absolutely want to play Hitman 3. Like, I think it sounds incredible.
And Ben, you said there was VR support for it too.
Yeah,
So-
and it's coming. It's coming to PC VR. It's not going to be on Quest. I doubt that it will be on Quest, but you can play it with your Quest on a PC
Hey, I may do that.
next year.
Awesome.
I mean, they're fun games. They're fun games.
Yeah. And
All
to
of-
your point
all
about
of them.
levels, to your
Yeah.
point about levels, Taylor, I think Hitman 3, there are great levels in the first two games. You could even argue that the best levels in the whole series are in the first two games. But I think every single level in Hitman 3 is a contender for best of the trilogy.
Yeah.
Whereas the other two games had weaker levels and stronger levels. Every single level, with the exception of the last one, which is kind of a one-off closer, every single one could be argued for best level.
Cool.
Yeah,
For all sorts of
exactly.
different reasons. So anyway, yeah, Hitman 3 is totally fantastic, and everyone should check it out. We are coming to the end of our Game of the Year discussion, and I feel like this is the hard part, but since we're already 2.5 hours in, we might want to change things up a little bit. We've got 4 Game of the Year contenders that each are tied with 2
Can you name
votes.
those out for us?
Yes, those are Metroid Dread,
Mm-hmm.
Returnal, It Takes Two, and Hitman 3. So it depends on how you guys want to take this. We can just vote on these games based on whether we like them or not. We can vote on these games based on the arguments that we made and whether we swayed one another. We can vote on these games based on arbitrary biases if you'd like.
Can I politic really quick?
Go ahead.
Well,
Sure.
what if we let's
wanna-
let's all what if we all go through and give like a little just 1 minute 30-second wrap up amongst and give our final argument before we decide.
For what each of us want as our
Yeah,
as Game
yeah,
of the Year?
just kind of like our last final stand.
I mean,
on-
there are 4 nominees and there's 5 of us.
No. I mean just like 1 minute, not on each game, just our take
Okay.
on it. You know what I mean?
Can
Go
I
ahead,
politic for
Thomas.
1 second though?
Thomas.
Alfredo, how much is it worth to not have Metroid Dread be your game? of the year?
Don't do this to me.
If you
worth a lot,
bring
okay?
up Deathloop, if you put Deathloop a little higher up, I will remove my Metroid Dread vote. How about that?
Oh, there you go. There you go.
This
I like it.
this is robbery is what it is. No, this is collusion. This is bribery. This is a lot
Name
of
it.
things.
A whole
It's all,
bunch
it's
of
all
things.
those things.
I would say this, just my thoughts on these 4. Metroid Dread seems like it's not doing nothing that new and special, and it's very divisive amongst us, right? And Hitman, I feel like, is a great game, but it's kind of doing what it's done before.
Killing Simulator.
Yeah, I mean, but it seems great. All these games are great, I would
3
argue.
out of 5 of us haven't played it.
Exactly.
is
So
important.
I think really the discussion comes back down to Returnal versus It Takes Two, which I side on the side of Returnal, but to me it's between those two.
I don't know. I
I-
think we have 2 votes for Dread, right? I would assume so. Because I
Yes,
ain't
we do.
taking down It Takes Two.
You have taken down It Takes Two?
I'm not. I
Oh, okay.
refuse.
Okay. Yeah, we
I
have,
will
we have
not be
two.
silent.
We have 2 votes for Metroid Dread. We have 2 votes for all of these.
I'm
Oh,
more
you-
willing to put Hitman above Metroid Dread, I think.
Okay,
End
so
of
what
this
are the votes?
conversation.
It Takes Two. That's my vote.
Oh,
I'm Hitman.
And Cole,
I'm
your
Hitman.
Returnal.
Yeah, I'm Returnal.
Your Returnal. Where are you, Ben?
I think I'm,
Because you got to think about it now. Think about what pushes the boundaries, takes games to the next level, tries
think
different
that's
stuff.
It Takes
Metroid
Two.
Dread does not do that, and I don't
Pump
think
the brakes.
Hitman. I don't think
I'm
Hitman
not even
does
voting for
either.
You didn't
Metroid
vote
Dread.
yet.
I'm not even voting for Metroid Dread.
Like I would put It Takes Two, even though I hadn't played it as as our
haven't
collective
played
game
it?
of the year
Shame.
over Hitman and Metroid, just based on the fact that it's new and different and strives to be something special.
okay.
So we got It
So-
Takes Two for Cole.
This is-
We
this
No,
is-
no,
have
no, no,
Hitman.
Returnal for me.
Returnal for you.
Yeah.
Taylor is Hitman. Ben, you are.
I don't know, man. This is tough. All 3 of my picks are here, which makes
Oh, this is rigged. Ben
me an
rigged it.
unfortunate
I'm
tiebreaker.
rigged it.
I think the reason that it's rigged is because I've played so few games, so I just chose the best ones that I wanted to play.
So we have 1 for everything right now, and Ben is the deciding factor. Is that what's happening here?
No,
Well, I didn't
Thomas
say.
has-
I didn't say out of these games I would pick Metroid Dread.
Oh, I thought you picked that one.
I didn't pick anything yet.
So
I
everything.
kinda
Okay,
wanna
no.
hear-
No, okay. So out of the four, out of the four, I think our viewers are right. Let's vote for 2 and tally them up.
Okay.
So let's write
Okay.
let's write down 2 that we out of the
Don't
list of
get
4 we have.
Okay.
Let's write down 2,
Okay.
Okay.
and whoever gets the most votes wins.
Thank
Wait,
you, Matt.
wait,
for-
wait,
thank you,
what
Matt,
are we
for
doing
the
again?
list for-
What are we doing
We're
again?
writing
We're
down
picking
2
two.
votes.
2? Okay,
So,
I got you.
so,
Okay.
so Ben, list off the 4 we've got again.
Metroid Dread, Returnal, It Takes Two, and Hitman.
I'm gonna put it on my phone because I don't have paper. And I'll show it. All right. I need my notes. You guys actually
Metro
have
Dread,
pen and
Hitman
paper
2,
with you?
Returnal, and
Sorry, Hitman 3.
sorry, yeah. And It Takes Two.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Spelled it wrong.
second vote. Okay. I got it. I'm ready.
I'm
Is
ready.
everyone
Okay,
ready?
me too. I'm good.
I'm ready.
Okay.
All right.
How
all
about
right.
let's do this? Top left row
Yeah.
goes, and then bottom. So Taylor or Clans, take it away.
Number 1, Hitman 3.
Okay. Wait, is anyone writing this down?
Yeah.
I'm telling it. I'm telling it. And number 2, Metroid Dread. Thomas.
Can y'all see that? Oh, it's backwards.
No, we did not.
No.
Metroid and Returnal.
Okay.
Cool.
Returnal and It Takes Two.
Oh
Okay,
my god!
Ben?
What if we had a three-way tie again?
I don't know.
Oh my god!
You added a mark to
I
that,
have-
didn't you?
I have It Takes Two and Hitman.
Wow.
Okay.
They're all tied up right now, by the way.
I have.
Wow. This is
Alfredo?
a fair one.
Alfredo's
Good.
the decider.
Don't change it, Alfredo. Don't
It
change it.
Takes Two and Returnal.
Oh, okay. So it's a two-way tie between It Takes Two and Returnal.
No,
All right.
Returnal got 3. Returnal got 3.
Yeah. they
But
both
It
got
Takes
three.
Two.
So now we each vote amongst those. Now let's each
Yeah.
vote amongst those.
Okay.
Okay.
One, only one, not 2.
Does anyone want to give a last argument for this before we do this?
That's a good
I think we
point.
said everything.
A last, like, just a quick
What is a better
15.
next gen experience?
Returnal.
That's my vote.
In your opinion.
I mean, it did,
I mean, that's
wouldn't
no,
say
that's not. I mean, that's just.
I would say, what is a unique game of the year experience that you possibly have never had before? Because you guys all know what I'm going to vote.
both.
But that's why I'm voting.
You're whatever criteria you want to choose is
Yeah,
your
whatever you
criteria.
want.
We won't have a tie here because there's 5 of us.
And
so-
we'll go reverse. I'll go first this time.
Yep.
Whenever you guys are ready.
Okay.
You ready?
Ready?
Okay. You guys are ready now? It takes
Yeah.
2.
Yep. I also did It Takes Two.
Returnal.
Returnal.
Oh my gosh.
Returnal.
Hey, I'm playing it tonight. It's official.
I'm playing it tonight, too. Y'all,
Yeah.
can I say
Okay.
that when I came into this,
Returnal.
I did not think Returnal would be our game of the year. So
I
Ben,
had a feeling it
I'll
would.
give you credit for this because this was a great idea. I like this.
Yes. Thank
Excellent.
you. Thank you, Matthew Bliss.
Yeah, thank you,
Thanks
Matthew,
for,
for that.
thanks for
Yeah.
solving that
Yeah.
last little puzzle there for us.
But it worked out good. Yeah, that was.
Alfredo, it could have been worse.
I can't be mad because
You know what's funny, y'all? Returnal was not any one of our single like favorite or best game of the year. My game of the year was RE4 VR.
Wasn't even on my list.
Yeah,
You-
what's
you know-
on my top 5?
It was
You know-
none of
you know-
ours.
You know what
our
I think
game of the
that
year.
you know what I think that speaks to is I think contradictory to everything we've said this year or about this year. I think we had some very very good games this year.
I agree. I
Yeah.
completely agree.
Before this, I was like, but I did have a very hard time picking even my top 5. So
This is not a Dragon Age Inquisition year, y'all.
This is
Thank
this.
God.
I will always stand by. This is to me the worst year in my gaming life.
Oh my
What?
I'm not lying.
Kill?
I'm not. Yeah, guys.
That's a
honestly,
whole topic for. That's
we,
a whole
we-
topic.
look,
for
we can go back.
2021,
We
y'all.
can go back to 1991, wherever y'all want to go back
Look.
to. There hadn't been a game year worse than this.
We're
I
gonna
don't
have
think.
this as a topic at some point next year, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Dukes of Gaming podcast. First off, want to give a shout out to Ben for hosting this whole thing, keeping this whole thing going along. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben. Did a great job. Everybody did a great job today. Thanks for all our viewers listening. Want to close the year out right. Stay safe. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you end your year right with the Dukes of Gaming podcast. Our links are below in the socials. Also, make sure you obviously we post on every week. We post on all the podcast services. We post on YouTube. We stream on Twitch. Follow us, leave a comment, support us if you like this content. And with all that being said, thank you for tuning in, and I bid thee farewell.
Hey, and you can't forget, Happy New Year. Let's have a great year of games. Let's have a great 2022 of games.
Oh, 2022 is gonna be lit, y'all.
It's gonna be busy.
Yeah, it's
Elden
going. It's
Ring.
going to be. I'm pumped.
Can't wait.
Excellent.
Sayonara.